what the heck is going on financially in the trucking industry this year? What's going on right now? What should we expect coming? We got Colton Lawrence, Trucker CFO. He's going to be here. We're going to talk about these things. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're fired up. Let's make some things happen. I may have had a little too much caffeine.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800-366-6466. Call now.
Now here's a question that all owner-operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charley from Contractor's Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
Your business will make you money if you do well at that business. And ES Advantage in trucking, they do really well at providing those services. So the effect that ES has had on our personal trucking operations, not even talking about what we do on the consulting arena, I've been able to save thousands of dollars a year in fuel because of the relationship with them. I have a new accountant that I work with, Trucker CFO, that I learned about from ES Advantage.
They're giving you that 10,000 yard kind of support from behind that creates a way for you to succeed, which is one of the things that we love, because anything you can do to help someone succeed is going to help them succeed. They make money by making sure you make money.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
And since I'm a lazy bastard and I haven't made a commercial for Trucker CFO yet, I'm going to do one right here on the fly. Hopefully it doesn't suck. Bear with me. Let's see. So if you guys need some tax accounting stuff from the most awesomest people on the planet, and you don't want to go to that 800-pound gorilla, y'all know who we're talking about. They might be based in Colorado. I don't know. Somewhere else. Don't go there. You need to look up truckercfo.com. Go there. Talk to their people. Their people are there to help you. They're actually there to consult you, actually do real business consulting, handle your tax stuff. And you know what? Hey, if you've had some problems and maybe you've missed a year of tax payments or something like that, they do tax resolution as well. Give them a call. Go to the website. The number's on the website. I can't remember what the number is off the top of my head. I'm a little fired up. And you know what? Jeff is here. He's going to save me because I don't know how to act today.
I'm not saving anybody, man.
Save me, Jeff. I got a complaint filed against me. I'm just saying, whatever. Apparently, I have a potty mouth and people didn't like it. And I say, you know what?
Hey.
I'm over it. Let's make some things happen.
I got my hand on the button. Look,
I didn't say anything. I didn't speak a word. I'm good, man. So you know what? We're going to do this thing real quick. Jeff's at home. He's been a lazy bastard. He's been sitting at the house for, I don't know, like a month right now because I don't know, he's sick, whatever. And his lungs fell out, but whatever, man, whatever. I'm getting my appendix out next week. That'll be fun for the show.
It's not COVID. That's all I know.
Three Stooges of Trucking, Stewie, Coach, and Cooper was first today. Just wanted to throw that out there for fun. Let's see. We got some people. Craig Hudson threw a squirrel at me earlier because he knows what he's just not a nice man.
Wait, what, huh?
He's a squirrel. I'm just saying. Jonah Green was here. Look, there's been a bunch of people. I apologize. I'm not going to go through the list right now because I really want to dip into Colton. That sounded totally wrong and inappropriate. It was stop. You know what? I can't be trusted.
No.
Colton Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, Trucker CFO. Boop, boop. I don't have, wait, here. How's that? I got applause for you. I don't even know what to do. Nope.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Dirty man. You are a dirty, dirty man. And I like it. That's cool. That was well played, sir.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Look, I'm going to put you up there. I'm so Jeff over here. just
That
to make
works.
everybody
You're
confused.
making me dizzy, man.
It's like
Not sure what was going on. I had to leave the studio and come back in, and then everything was working great. So
Jeff has that like every week, man. So don't feel bad.
Yeah.
And then he started messing with his camera. He's like, "Hey, what do you think about this view?" And I'm like, "Wow, it's like looking at you from the moon." And then he put this view, and I'm like, "I don't even know what to say."
Yeah.
Colton, I listened to this podcast. I believe it was somewhere around
Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
I see. I was thinking 31st. You talked about a lot of stuff in a very short period of time, and we want to talk about a lot of that same stuff, but in a more detailed format. We're hoping that we're not scroll brained, and you can tell that this could be interesting on my end because I'm a little jacked up today.
Okay.
Colton, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Jeff,
Yeah.
nobody cares about you. Close your mouth. I'm just playing. Jeff, you need to talk. Look, he can't even talk.
I can't
Yeah.
talk, man.
I heard Jeff talking to Jessica today, and I said, "Jessica, who you talking to?" She said, "That was Jeff Morton." I said, "Oh, I'm going to be talking to him shortly." And she said, "Oh, he's been a baby and been home not making money." And I said, "Oh, well."
You know why she called me, Colton?
Why's that?
And here's the thing, guys. Check this out. Jessica called me because she was concerned looking at my settlements for Swift for the
Nice.
last 3 weeks being at zero because I've been home and
Right.
wanted to know if I was okay. That's literally why she called me.
Shout out to Jessica.
For real.
Well, and to tell me that I still haven't turned in my receipts for my Verizon service, but that's beside the point. She led with, "Are you okay? You're not making money."
I've never had an 800-pound gorilla do that for me.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
on that segue, yeah, Jeff, Colton, you guys are smarter than I am today. How would you like to proceed? You know, we're going to talk about these things. By the way, phones are open, and I skipped the fuel thing because I'm just over it. Go to the EIA site. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll scroll it across the bottom. You guys can go look at that stuff there. I want to get into this other stuff because it's far more important to me.
So yeah, Colton.
Yeah.
So your podcast this last time was gold and needed to be longer than 20
Absolutely.
minutes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We know how the podcast thing works, and I'm pretty sure you said things that didn't make the cut.
Editing.
There were some. Just a little bit of background on that too. That podcast actually comes from the live radio appearance I do on Radio Nemo.
Right.
Okay.
So it is actually about 20 minutes. I'm on there for 30 minutes, but you got the commercials and whatnot because I gotta pay people. So
Yeah.
and all said and done, it was about 20 minutes, but you can tell from the podcastings get a little bit truncated and cut out here and there.
So what I brought up to you, and one of the main themes I'd like to see this go, is when we talk to people, Colton, there seems to be only two types of people in the industry right now. There's the people that are doom and gloom and what are the gods is coming back next week? That's how bad it is. You know, all that, we're done. And then there's the people that have rose-colored glasses and everything's fine. Nothing's wrong.
Right.
And those two types of people really bother me, Colton.
Well, I think I may have even said this on that podcast. I can tell you what you want to hear, or I can tell you the way it is. And I try not to be doom and gloom. I don't want to be that doom and gloom person. But the fact of the matter is right now, it's a bit of a bloodbath. It really is. And it's that way for a reason. And it actually needs to be that way in order for the market to correct itself.
Mhm.
And the big question is how long? That's what everybody wants to know. And if I could pinpoint that to a specific point in time, I'd probably be pretty rich. But
Right.
it is very hard. I think I said in the podcast, consensus is somewhere between 6 and 18 months. I tend to lean more towards the 18 months. There's a number of things that could impact that and push it out further, or maybe push it up. We can talk about some of those. But we should really talk about why it's been as bad as it is right now. Because it is bad. You can't ignore that. There
Right.
are people going out of business, companies, big and small, going out of business all over the place, and trucks coming off the road, capacity coming off the road. And again, that's needed. Um, but to maybe be more towards what you're looking for, Jeff, we can talk about what folks can do to weather the storm
Mhm.
and not have to feel the doom and gloom as much as perhaps some are. And more importantly, weather it in a way that you don't end up being one of the companies that helps in the reduction of capacity. You want to be one of the ones that survives. So we
Right.
can talk about all those things.
Well, the thing is, you have to see reality for what it is. Charley and I recently have been really holding people's feet to the fire when they tell us they want to be an owner operator. We want to know why. We want to know that they have a plan. We want them to know that things are not great right now. They're jumping in at a pretty bad time.
For real.
But some
Mhm.
people, they just they're into it, and if you're one of those people, if you're in business, you need to understand where the market is. It's not, to me, something to be scared of. It's just the way it is. And there's things that we can do. One of the things on the DAT IQ today, Colton, I was telling Charley this, and this boggles my mind. They said that in the last quarter, they saw an increased use or sign up for discount fuel cards.
Just now.
Why are you waiting until fuel is at $5 a gallon to get a discount fuel card if you're
And
a
what's
business
funny
owner?
is we're on the downslide of that huge fuel
Yeah,
card.
they're going down now.
And now, I better get a discount fuel card. I mean, look, we're glad you're getting them.
Yeah, better late than never.
Holy crap. I
mean,
mean,
this is like those people, and you probably see them, some of your clients maybe that you don't like to mention, but they exist, that buy high and sell low in the stock market and think they're doing good.
Yeah, I saw it a lot with
for the win.
Yeah, I saw it a lot
Sorry.
with crypto. We had a lot of people making decent money in crypto in 2020. Let's see, 2021. I gotta make sure I get
Right.
my years straight. 2021, and then in 2022, the people that jumped in 2022, man, they took it in the
They took it
shorts.
shorts, yeah.
Yeah,
We wouldn't
and
know anything about that, Charley and I.
yeah,
Let's go for the win.
yeah. I tell people just to stay away from that stuff.
It was
I
fun,
mean,
though.
it
I'm not
was
gonna
fun.
lie.
I bought some Bitcoin at what 18-ish and rode
Right.
it up to 65 and
Yeah.
saw it come back down, and I was like, ooh, maybe I should get out. And so I ended up making a little bit of money, but you gotta, that's what I say all the time. You gotta trust the professionals.
Right.
I don't know that there is such a thing as professional when it comes to Bitcoin.
Right.
We have
but,
one in our group,
Yeah.
Bitcoin John.
That guy's actually been successful. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but he's long term. He's not.
Yeah, you got to be in for the long haul. That's for sure.
But so on this stuff though, what we're seeing is well, first, before I ask this question, we need a definition of tender rejection so that people can understand that first, because then I want to actually dip into that and that part of that podcast.
Okay. So before I dip into what the tender rejection is, no, you're good. Let's start with there's two primary markets when it comes to rates. You've got contract rates and you've got spot rates or market.
Yeah.
Use the term interchangeably, right? So the contract market is going to be primarily for your larger motor carriers. So for you guys, Swift, they have contract rates. Knight, Sierra England, even, FedEx, there's a lot of contract rates out there.
Right.
There are smaller carriers, your 100, 200 truck fleets that have some contract freight. More of those types of carriers are going to be spot market, or a mix of both. And so, what happens is they set those contract rates, and they generally will go out anywhere from 6 to 18 months. When things were really going well, the carriers were pushing for those contract rates to be 12, 18 months, Shippers were obviously pushing for them to be 6 months or less. So there's this whole market, and you got the salespeople and you got the shippers, and they're all doing what they can to try and get the best rates for the longest or shortest period of time. Well, as the carriers have that contract freight, and they have to guarantee a certain amount of capacity to haul that freight, there are usually clauses within their contracts that allow them to reject loads based on the price. So if they've got an opportunity, they being the carrier have an opportunity at a better load outside of that contract, they can pursue it, and they can reject their contract load. And what happens with that contract load is it then gets pushed down to the spot market. I shouldn't say pushed down. Maybe that's a bad term, but it's pushed over. Yeah, pushed over to the spot market. Makes it sound less than what it is, but it really isn't. It's just the way the market works. So it gets pushed to the spot market, and that happens through brokers. It happens through load boards. There's all different kinds of ways that people can then have access to that spot load and the spot market in general. And that's where your owner operators come in, and your one truck owner operators all the way up to the smaller fleets that are trying to go after that. So that brings us to the tender rejection rate. So what is the tender rejection rate? It's the number of loads or the percentage of loads that are rejected by the contract carriers and then pushed to the spot market. So when things were really bumping along in 2021 through start of 2022, the tender rejection rate was up around 30%.
Right.
So 3 out of every 10 loads, contract loads, was rejected and pushed to the spot market. And then you compare that to today, where it's somewhere between 3 and 4%. So 3 to 4 out of every 100, instead of 3 out of every 10. Well, that is bad enough as it is. There's a lot less in terms of volume going to the spot market. But then you add to that what happened when the tender rejection rate jumped up to 30%, and there was all of these loads that needed to be hauled. You had a whole bunch of capacity come into the market, the spot markets. You also had a whole bunch of capacity come into the contract market because rates were good everywhere. And so there was this huge increase in capacity, and it was needed to accommodate the amount of volume that was out there at that time. Now what's happened is that volume has come back down, and you talk to people, and a lot of people think, well, volumes are just way, way down. Like, what is going on? There's nothing to be hauled out there. Fact of the matter is it's not that it's not like they bottomed out and just, hit the floor. We're actually seeing volumes that are right around your 2018, 2019 levels and a little bit above. It's just that we've taken the COVID bubble out of the equation. Well, when that volume related to COVID comes out of the market, but yet you've still got all this capacity that flooded the market because of this COVID bubble, you now have way too much or an excess of capacity to haul the number of loads that are out there, both in contract and spot. And so the only thing that can happen, and it's not fun, is for that capacity to disappear. Well, how does it disappear? It disappears by people going bankrupt, going out of business, trucks coming off the roads, drivers losing their jobs. And so that's the doom and gloom side of it, is that's happening, and that's not easy for anybody.
But that's the reality of it. And that's what a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about, the guys that are going out of business. And I mean, quite honestly, we need that mass exodus to happen to get those rates up, to mellow out or level out the field out there. Because like you said, I mean, it's not the volume that's the problem of freight. It's all these guys that went out and bought $100,000 trucks for $200,000 and are so damn stubborn. They ain't letting it go, and the banks won't take them back.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit right now. So you have this huge influx of capacity that came into the market. At that time, what was going on is actually still kind of going on, but it's eased some, mainly because the demand isn't there anymore. But in the new truck market, the OEMs they couldn't keep up with the demand. In fact, it was very hard to come by a new truck. You had trucks that were completely ready to go, other than what? A chip.
Yep.
Sitting in lots across the country, waiting for that chip to come over from Taiwan primarily, or wherever else it may have come from. And so you couldn't get a new truck. So what happened to the used truck market? You were seeing 3 to 500,000 mile trucks, 2015, 16, 17 model years, that were selling for more than a new truck.
Right.
And people were buying them.
That was the crazy part.
There's a reason they were priced that way. It's because people were buying them.
Yep.
And people were buying them because people were like, well, it doesn't matter what I pay for this truck. I can make money with this truck.
The gold rush was on.
Yeah. So you see that going on. And the other important thing is, how were they buying those trucks? They were buying them with PPP funds. They were buying them with idle loans or SBA loans. There was a lot of free and really cheap money out there. And so we've got examples of clients all over that went out and bought dozens of trucks.
Right.
Flip side is they're cheap now, and they're not as cheap as I think they're going to get.
Right.
But they are coming back down. But so you had people buying all these trucks. Well, that's just exacerbated the problem, because now you've got people that are in these loans, even if they're low interest rate loans that they got when money was cheap, but they can't afford it because the rates that are out there aren't enough to support the use of that truck, and so people are going bankrupt. Again, it's sad, but that's what's going on.
And with that is we had that glutton of money, right, on the rates being so crazy. Like, oh, I'll buy the truck, it'll be fine. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna buy this, sorry, man, $98,000 pickup truck, and it'll be fine. And I'm gonna buy this, and I'm gonna buy that, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that,
and new SUV,
and whatever. Love you, man. He knows who we're talking about, but we're just picking on you. But then the rates start dropping, right? And you can't get loads that are paying what you need to cover the truck, let alone all this crazy crap that you got going on at the house. And you were living high on the hog, but nobody was scrolling anything away. And look, I'm one of those guys. I've had a string of crap go on this year has been the perfect storm of.
This year has been the worst year in business for me.
Oh God. But medical issues, this, that, and that, and the other thing, you know what I mean? It's just been one thing after another. So I don't have the reserves that I should have. Yet these guys that were out there slaying it, and I mean slaying it with $5 rates, right? Put nothing away.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's willing to cut back there. They're like, well, I should be able to get a better rate. And it's my carrier, it's my broker, it's this, it's that, it's everything but them. And I don't know, man.
Well, and there was also the mindset that this was the new norm. It was
Right.
going to stay this way. We see this. I've got a buddy who is an owner of a trailer dealership in town, and I actually used to be a part owner in that dealership. So I know him well, and was talking to him the other day, and the salesmen were just killing it, right? Because people were coming in and paying top dollar, not just for trucks, but for trailers too.
Oh,
and these salesmen were making more money than they had ever made, and in many cases making what they normally made, over the course of 4 or 5 years, they were making in 1 year.
Yep.
And he told me, he's like, yeah, I told these guys, put some away. It's not going to be like this forever. And they didn't, because they're like, it's going to last. It's going to be like this for a while. And we know it's going to turn. And the folks that understood the economics of it were saying it's going to turn, and it's going to be rough. But
we've all said it. We all said it during the holy crap time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So, but yeah, unfortunately, very few people actually put the money away. And, I don't know that people really fully understood that it was going to be quite this bad. It's bad when today, I think it was today, it may have been yesterday, there was an article on Fox News about what's going on in the trucking industry. If listen, not a lot of people other than people in the industry pay attention to the trucking
Right.
industry, right? They just know their stuff is there at the store and they can buy it, and or it gets shipped to their doorstep, and they don't really pay attention to it much other than when they get mad at one of you guys out on the road. And so what's going on there? They are putting an article on Fox News, and that tells you right there that it's bad, because
Right.
it wouldn't be on there if it wasn't really, really bad. So Jeff, sorry to be doom and gloom, but
No, it's just data.
yeah,
Right.
it is just the
I
data,
mean-
and it's important to understand the data so that we can understand. Stop being so doom and gloom and say, okay, what do we do to survive, and what
Right.
are you doing to survive?
I mean, we've had a few discussions on our private Facebook group where I've told guys, look, man, if you're done, you're done. I get it. Things are really tough. You can't make your house payment, whatever. Freight's slow for us right now. But do you have a plan? What are you going to do? This isn't going to last forever. Do you want to be in business again someday? Because we can help you with that.
Mhm.
Maybe you prepare a little bit better for the next round. I don't want people to think that if you're one of those guys that's helping with reducing our capacity, that you're some bad person or something. That's
Right.
not the case.
It's only failure if you don't learn from the experience.
And guess
Charley
what?
and I
You can make money out here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
There are people
absolutely.
making money even through this. I know a lot of them, and so the important thing is, rather than focusing on the doom and gloom and that people have to go out of business, it's where can you make money?
Right.
And I will tell you right now, I still get questions from people. Hey, should I go out and get my own authority? And I tell people right now, the answer to that is just no. Why would you go out and get your own authority to haul spot market loads when the average load on the spot market compared to the average load in contract freight is 75 cents lower
Right.
per mile? Why would you do that? It's a 75. I think it's 75 cents per mile lower than a contract load. So you want to be in contract freight. Well, who has a
Right.
contract freight? Swift has contract freight. There's lots of others that have contract
Right.
freight. So that's one good decision right there, is haul contract freight.
Well, one of the things that I've seen in the past, because this is not the first time this has happened in my career, is not so much this time, which is a little weird, but the last couple of times we saw people coming to Swift, putting their authorities on hold and coming to Swift to get that contract freight, because out
Right.
there they just weren't making what they were used to, and they were just trying to keep the lights on until things turned around. Right? That's a legitimate thing to do. And I don't care if it's Swift, JB Hunt, whoever, going after that contract freight is probably the wise course of action right now. I was watching the DAT IQ today, and they had a comment from one of their viewers, and they're like us, Charlie. They have tens of viewers, like we do,
Right. Yes.
the DAT guys. But one guy said, he's getting tired of people saying, don't take cheap freight. He's like, well, what's cheap freight? He's got a contract at his home that pays a lot of money to go out from home to wherever. And then he hits the DAT board just to get back and pay for fuel. He doesn't care what that rate is. He's making all of his money on that contract freight that he's got coming out of his house. He's just got to get back there to grab the next
Right.
load.
Yeah.
And so there's some of that going on too. And there's this thing out there in the social media universe where people are saying this, don't take cheap freight. And Charlie and I have always been, well, tell me what cheap freight is. We haul freight at $1.15 a mile plus surcharge, and we make money.
And would you rather take cheap freight or deadhead?
Right.
Take the cheap freight. So understanding where you're going. I know you guys are picking loads off of the Swift boards, and there's lots of carriers do it a lot of different ways. Understanding where the freight is and where the markets are good is really important. And knowing, you might see a really good load taking you up to Montana.
Mhm.
Well, how are you going to get out of Montana? And what are you going to get paid for that? Or are you going to have to deadhead? And are you smart enough? Are you looking at, the whole picture and saying to yourself, maybe I should turn down this really good load and take more of an average load to get me into Ohio, where I'm going to be able to get another decent load to somewhere else in the Midwest, Texas or Louisiana. Um, Understanding those so that your average stays stronger is important, and not getting yourself into areas where you're going to have to take really, really cheap freight or perhaps deadhead free freight.
Yeah. And this is what we call, I'm gonna offend people now. This is what we call doing business. I pay attention to several Facebook pages just to see what people are saying. And it's amazing to me how, well, there's just a lack of personal ownership of business out there in the trucking industry. It's amazing to me. Guys, take ownership of your business. Make decisions that are good for you and your business. Don't worry about somebody being mad at you for taking that load for $1.80 if it gets you to that place where you've got freight over $2. Let them worry about themselves. You worry about you. I see people get discouraged because they're susceptible to that kind of criticism. And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. You run your business. You're doing better than that guy. At least you're looking at the rates and lanes. And that's what you have to do, especially in this environment.
And people just don't, in this whole cheap freight thing, they don't look at what, your cost to operate is versus my cost to operate is. I pay a lot less for insurance than a lot of people out there. I pay a lot less for fuel than a lot of people out there. My truck payment, while it seems high up front, when you look at some of these guys that are going out and trying to finance trucks right now, if they can even get someone to finance them, right? The interest rates, I mean, you said it in your podcast, 10, 18, 20, even higher percentage hits on those. I mean, good God, man. So yeah, my truck payment may be $670 a week, which sounds high overall. But when I'm seeing some of these guys that if they could get into brand new equipment, would be paying 20% on top of that. I know for a fact I'm not paying that. I know you've looked at some of our numbers, and I believe we're down around that 8 or 9% number. I think is where we fit in the overall picture of the percentage side, and I don't know, man. It just seems crazy to be hitting these super high interest rates right now. And there's been some comments in here through and I'm sorry if I don't put it up right now, but some people have said why are you buying equipment to pay to make so little per mile, and it just doesn't make sense. And I say I disagree in that I am running a business and I have a piece of equipment. Another comment is, well, you're just killing your truck early. And no, I'm not, because I'm maintaining my truck. I'm investing in that piece of equipment. I'm maintaining, I just put new steer tires on today. Luckily, I won some tires. I scored. I'm not going to lie. And so I just put those tires on today. And I actually needed to put them on earlier than I should have, because I failed to do a little bit of proper maintenance on my steer tires, because I just did it. I'm just a jackass this year. But now I can tell you that these are going to last me longer, because I took some maintenance precautions with that, and I purchased some shocks today, and we were talking about when should you change shocks and things like that, and we've got a couple different schools of thought on that, and I'm going back to when you change your tires, change your shocks. So I bought shocks for the front of the truck. I'll put them on tomorrow probably, and I'll have that done. They're balanced. They're going to last longer. Hopefully I'll get closer to 250, 300,000 miles out of this next set of steers, because I will maintain them a little bit better. But, this argument that and this is a true statement for some, that you're chasing freight and all these miles and you're wearing out your truck faster. I get where you're saying that, but if you're working smarter and maintaining your truck, these trucks are running, we can run them up to 2 million miles right now. So, I mean, the return on investment, the ROI, as it's called, is tremendous if you're managing your business and your home finances. I mean, Chewy's got 1.7 million miles on it. I paid $42,000 for that truck. I assure you, I made way more money on that truck than I ever spent in repairs, paying for it, for fuel, for anything else. That truck was a freaking dollar mint. You
Right.
know, I just don't get that. So I'm sorry. I had to get into some of those questions that were popping up, and I apologize for not putting you guys up individually, but I wanted to touch on a bunch of them at one time. Sorry. Fire, I am fire. So
So getting back to,
sorry.
everybody wants to know, when is this going to be over? And the
Ugh.
fact is, Colton, nobody knows. I mean, we follow several analysts. We talked to Adam Miller, the CEO of Swift, who is you would love the guy. He's a total numbers geek. Like, get him talking about numbers and you're there for the day. He flat refuses to make any predictions at all at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He made that mistake once, almost a year ago.
Yep.
And he's like, nope, not again. It didn't work out well.
Yeah, he's got to worry about stock price, and there's
yeah.
other things going on there that he's got to consider. But you want my 2 cents?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we bring you here, sir.
Yeah, so I said 6 to 18 months. I think there's a number of things that can play into whether it's going to be 6 or 18, and perhaps a little bit of up and down in the meantime, in between time maybe. Did you know there's an election coming up next year?
What?
Yeah. I don't know if we want to talk politics here. I think I know where you guys all stand, but
Yeah, but you'll just offend half our audience. That's all, Colton.
yeah. Well, in any case, we don't have to get into it, but the fact of the matter is, and it doesn't matter who's in the office or not,
Right.
when an election year comes around, there are things that are done to make or give the appearance of things being better.
Mm-hmm.
I think we saw it here just
Last week.
a week or two ago. Yeah, I was trying to remember exactly when it was, with interest rates. What have they done? That you've been hearing that interest rates are probably going to go up another 1/4 to 1/2 point again. They didn't. Why is that? Some people say, well, it's just because we didn't need it. I'm personally of the opinion that it didn't, because the politics are going to start to come into play with this. The fact of the matter is the current administration will have a really hard time getting reelected if interest rates are sitting for homes at 8, 9, 10%. They need them to come back down, and so you're going to see some of that going on in the next year. And so I think you as a result, you might see an easing of some of the issues that are plaguing the markets we've just been talking about. And then once the election passes, you probably see some of that reverse again. And so, and there's also a whole list of other geopolitical factors that could play into this. What's going to happen in Israel? Is China going to invade
Right.
Taiwan? There's all these things that you can't know, and that would have a huge impact on things. If China invades Taiwan and things get worse in the Middle East, and Russia continues what they're doing with Ukraine, frankly, you're looking at a scenario that we probably really don't want to make. If you want to talk doom and gloom, let's talk that scenario, Jeff.
Yeah.
If things stay status quo, then an election was not a factor in this, then I think it's easier to come in and say, well, you're looking at 8 months or 10 months, but there's just so many unknowns that nobody really can do that.
We tell people all the time, we don't like to do politics on the show, but we do encourage people to pay attention, because, like it or not, no matter how you personally vote or who you support, whatever, politics absolutely affects the economy. So pay attention to what these people are saying and what they're doing. And nobody's got a crystal ball, but depending on who's got the talking stick at the time, I guess you could call it, they have an agenda. Know what that agenda is and how it's going to affect your business.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could look at California fuel prices for this week. 11, almost 12-cent drop this week. And
Yeah.
never seen magic that happened out there this week. I mean, the
Speak-
average national fuel drop for the last 3 weeks was 16 cents overall, whereas the West Coast Pad 5 went down like 22 cents, 21 cents for the same period. But so
they had California had an election last week.
right, so here's the funny part about that is on the week that ended 10/30, the drop on Pad 5 was pretty on par with what the National did. The week of 11/6, pretty on par with what the National did. On this week, it was a much steeper drop. We did 7 cents on National and 12 cents on California. I don't know. Seems coincidental? Maybe. I don't know.
So, Colton,
Sorry.
Tim's got an interesting thing that I want to touch on. Tim Ransom says, when the economy went bad in 2008, it took almost 2 years for it to get back to normal.
Mhm.
So you're an accountant type. How long have we been in this decline so far?
Well,
About-
it really started to turn early in 2022. So
Okay, so
we're coming up on 2 years. Keep in mind, this is a much different situation than what we had in 2008.
Right.
And I think it just is going to take longer. There's no way this, turns around in the early part of 2024.
nobody has the old magic wand.
It
Yeah.
would be a global something that made it turn around drastically.
Maybe another pandemic. Who wants that?
Right.
Right?
Mm-mm.
No, not me.
Mhm.
So it's important to understand why we are where we are. I think I've said that already, but and it's also important to understand what is normal, right? So I think the comment there was it took 2 years to get back to normal. Well, what is normal? If your
Right.
thought is that normal is the way it was in 21 and 22, we're not getting back to that normal maybe forever.
Right.
Well,
Right.
so most of the analysts that I follow, Colton, and you may be of the same mind, they're not saying year over year right now. They're saying we're pretty close to 2019 levels.
Right.
That's the
You
year
just
they're
can't
looking
compare
at as
Yeah.
that's the year they're looking at. It seems as being normal in
Mhm.
2019.
Yep. And let's I've got some numbers in front of me here. 2019. So 2019 volumes. I'm going to spit out the number. This won't mean a whole lot without seeing a graph in front of you. But 2019 volumes, 9,552.28. So it's called 9,500. 2023 volumes, 11,527. So volume is higher in 2023 compared to 19. Rejection. So going back to that tender rejection rate in 19 was 5.38%. We're currently sitting at 3.51. So we've got more volume, but the rejection rate is still significantly lower. And why is that? It's because you've still got so much more capacity
Right.
compared to what we had in 2019. So
Capacity being trucks.
trucks. Yep. So again, it just brings us back to we need capacity to come out of the market, or we need volume to go up, or we need some combination of the two. And I don't see volumes rising in any meaningful way, at least not enough to combat where the rejection rate's at right now. And so what do we need? We need capacity to come out. Why do I not see capacity going up? Well, this goes to another point that I was making in the podcast, and that is we're running out of money. People are running out of money to buy the things that
Right.
cause that volume.
Right.
Back during COVID, what were they using to create that volume? They were using their stimulus checks. They were using other free money that they were getting.
Right.
And you got California that in 2022 did something similar. They gave $700 to everybody. So there's all this free money around, and people use that to buy TVs or buy whatever. And that's not there now. So what are people using to continue pumping in the volumes that we're seeing?
Credit.
Credit. Yep.
So you were
Using
saying
credit.
on the podcast that credit usage is back up to historical highs again.
Credit
Where-
card debt is at historical highs.
Right.
And it looked like after 2008, like the light bulb came on for the country, and that declined for several years after that one.
Mhm.
And
People
now
got
we're
smart.
now we're dumb again.
Now, yeah, we're dumb again.
Well,
Yes.
it goes back to that living by your means thing, right? Because all of a sudden they had this cash influx, the stimulus checks and all that kind of crap. And they're like, oh, I like spending money like this. And, it did what it was supposed to do in the very short term. It got people out there buying, spending. Look, I bought guns.
Hey,
That made sense to me. It seemed like a good
Yeah.
investment,
Yeah.
and prices were down and they were out there, and man, ammo was stupid priced, but whatever, I stocked up on that too. That's what I did. It wasn't probably the smartest choice, but to me it made sense. But then
Maybe someday.
right, you know what I mean? The EMP could happen. I'm saying it could happen tomorrow. Who knows? Anyhow, but then they got used to that spending again, right? And then the money's not coming in anymore. They're not getting any more of these stimulus checks. They're like, oh, but I want this doohickey. I got a credit card. I'm gonna go buy it. And low interest rates are still happening.
So what happens when people run out of credit? When that $5,000 Visa credit limit is gone,
Right.
they might go out and get another credit card for $5,000, but eventually they're not going to be able to get the credit. It's
Right.
going to dry up, and the interest rates will start to play a role in that. So when the credit card credit availability dries up and people have to actually start paying this stuff back, it's not like they just can pay down the credit card and all of a sudden start using it again. The interest rate on these things is going to take up more of their income that they have available. And so it's just, you're looking at a further delay of the correction of this, because you're going to actually see volumes probably go down rather than up. So not only are they probably going to go down, you've got further capacity that needs to come out of the market to offset that reduction in demand that I probably see happening. So that's why I personally lean more towards the 2 years, the 18 months to 2 years from now, is because there's just a lot of other stuff that has to happen outside of the trucking industry
Right.
to correct this.
So
So-
do you think, Colton, that when this is over? So again, Charlie and I have been in business long enough to have seen a couple of these. Not lasting this long, but we've seen a couple. And what we've seen on the other side of these is just a couple of good years of time to save money, which nobody does. But on the other side of this, are we going to see that kind of bump where, all right, I can take a breather for a couple of years, things are good again, and before the next one hits, because there'll always be a next one.
I think it depends on who you are. I think if you are somebody who bought really high, let's say you bought that 2018 Freightliner Cascadia at $118,000 or $180,000
Right.
with 500,000 miles on it. Well, you're going to be sitting in a situation where you're going to be paying on that truck a lot longer, or more, perhaps not longer, but more of your income is going to go to that truck, and so you're going to have less opportunity compared to somebody else to go out and survive quicker, right? So the person that bought a truck either before prices really went crazy, or somebody who waited and didn't buy high and is now going to be able to take advantage of buying low, they're going to be able to make money sooner compared to the person who bought really high, right? So that, again, it depends on who you are and what your situation is, what your debt looks like, what type of freight you're hauling. There's all of those things that go into it, and that's why it'll be a gradual correction, because you will see gradually you will start to see people pulling out of this as the market does correct. But it's not like it's just going to be an overnight thing where all of a sudden everybody starts making money again.
So Tim Saburn here said, I'm still trying to see why capacity is so bad. Why did it tank? During COVID, we ran great. We had freight. It wasn't until a year after Trump left office that this thing tanked. He followed up with, so I don't think we can blame COVID for it for that very reason.
Well, I think that Colton already answered that, though. it was a perfect storm of a lot of
Right.
things.
I
You
just didn't
know,
want to skip over that because
no,
I think it's an important point.
yeah,
So he was asking about was he asking about capacity, or is he asking about? So I don't see why capacity is so bad. Well, so capacity. I think what he's asking
Yeah, right. I think it's flip
is
flop.
loads. Right. The number of loads that are
the
out there,
volume. Yeah.
because the capacity is actually still high. The capacity didn't tank. We actually need capacity to come out of the market. So what happened? Why the volumes tanked? And keep in mind that's you got to understand what we're saying when we say tanked. It didn't actually tank. It tanked in comparison to where things were at their peak.
Right.
But in comparison to 19, it didn't tank, right? I just gave a metric, 9,500. I know that doesn't mean anything, but just use it for a point of reference. Volumes were at 9,500 in 19. They're now at 11,500 in 23. In 20 and 21, they were up around 16,000. Right. So why were volumes so high? Because everybody had their $750 to $4,000 stimulus check from the
Mhm.
government that they didn't have to do anything for other than breathe and file a tax return, that they then took to Best Buy or to Walmart or to wherever, to buy stuff. And most of that stuff they actually ordered from the comfort of their couch, had to be
Right.
shipped to the store and then shipped to your house. And so there was all this stuff. Well, that money is gone. And it might sound not as much of an impact when you're envisioning just yourself, but when you envision 200 million households across the country with that kind of money to spend, and they spent it, that's what created the bubble. And it was intended to. They wanted, they being the government, they wanted to stimulate the economy, because when COVID hit, it obviously the economy just completely tanked. I mean, everything was shut down, so they needed to get things going again. They overdid it, and that, again, not to talk politics, but that's where politics comes into this, because they were giving out free money after the COVID pandemic had really done its damage. The economy was running again, got back up on its feet, and yet they were still giving out free money. Why?
Yeah, that was kind of weird to me.
I mean, so easy, simple numbers. $700 times 200 million households is $140 billion. That's a lot of influx for nothing.
Yeah, and my stimulus was closer to 3,500 because of all the kids.
Right. Yeah. And you add that in, and there was a couple rounds of that stuff. And
one of the things we did with it was buy some laptops, because guess what we were doing? School at home.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of
all
people
those
did
kinds
that.
of things that people were buying, and so when that money's not there anymore, believe it or not, people do actually think about spending money on a credit card. So when it was just free money, they didn't think about what they were buying. They just went out and bought because it was free money.
Right.
Now they still want to spend, but they have to spend it on a credit card because real wages are actually down because of inflation.
Right.
And so they're using the credit card, and they think about it a little bit more, but they also know, I don't have to pay the piper for a while, so let's just go out and buy it. So that's why volumes, they've come down, right? Again, looking at 9,500, now 11,500. At the peak, we were at 15 to 16. So they haven't tanked, they've just come back down and are actually still above the pre-COVID levels.
Right.
So what we're really, really talking about here is a glut of capacity.
A glut of capacity, and still probably some artificial volume that's in the market right now because of credit card usage.
And we saw a ton of a lot of that capacity we saw come in were people who had nothing to do with the trucking industry beforehand. There was a ton of outside investment in garbage trucks at a premium price. They're like, I'm going to go buy 10 trucks and throw a couple drivers in it. My buddy's driven the truck, so I'm going to let him run the company. It'll be great, and I'm going to make all this money. And these guys are not backing out. There is a lot of people that are out in this industry, capacity-wise, that honestly never should have entered, except for the fact that it was so damn high. How could you pass it up at the time?
Right.
and they didn't think that it would ever come down.
Well,
They didn't think it was ever going to drop.
And you know, Colton, you know about my thing. I almost went out and got my own authority in 21. Boy, would that have been a mistake.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have friends like Charley that I could bounce numbers off of that know the industry, and help me. We bounce numbers all the time to help each other make better decisions. You got to have people like that, whether you use Trucker CFO for that, or us, or your other owner operator buddy. Talk about the business, how you're doing, and what your next move might be.
Seek multiple people to advise you.
Yeah, I don't know. But guys might find this strange, but Charley and I don't always agree.
The hell you say, sir?
It's weird.
Me and Jeff had a pretty good argument not too long ago. It was pretty awesome. I was like, "Shut up, Jeff," and he's like, "Shut up, Charley." And then there was an F-bomb. I'm sure it was not him, but whatever. Ooh, I'm a cat-like reflex. I almost dropped this thing on my desk and I caught it. Sorry, I apologize. I need more Mountain Dew. Clearly.
So for you flatbed guys out there, I saw an interesting article that'll probably affect flatbeds. I don't know if you saw this, Colton. It was on one of the Utah local rags. Builders right now are giving incentives to keep people in their new home contracts prior to completion. Because I've never bought a brand new built home before. I'm just not that rich. But with the way interest rates are going, people are backing out before the construction is complete. And that's apparently causing an issue here in Utah. And I'm sure that we're not the only place that's happening.
Yeah.
The mortgage Mike sign that you see going to work, 7.8% the other day.
But you bring up a good point, Jeff, because a big part of volumes is in the housing market, right? New builds. And so, we've talked about people buying TVs. Well, okay, yes, there were a lot of people buying TVs, but what else were people doing? You had essentially 0% interest rates.
Right.
Okay? You could go out and get jumbo loans on a house for 2.5%. And so people did that.
We did that.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you had people so housing prices skyrocket. Some people decide they want to buy new. Others decide, hey, it's time to remodel the house. We did that. And so what happens there? You're getting really low or free money, and you're going out and you're using that equity that you have in the house. And what are you buying? You're buying your contractor for you. You're buying 2x4s. You're buying sheetrock. You're buying paint. You're buying all that stuff, and all that
those
volume.
things were at a premium during that time, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They were at a premium, and so all that stuff's being shipped. And then what happens? Interest rates go through the roof. Credit markets tighten up. People can't buy homes. They can't afford homes. They can't afford to remodel. They can't get the home equity line of credit to remodel their house. And so all of that comes out of the volumes. So it's just another aspect of the more broad economy that is causing some of the things that we're seeing.
So Life on 18 Wheels just broke down this basic thing. Capacity equals truck volumes, capacity equals trucks, volume equals freight, high capacity, low volume. It's not necessarily low volume, except that in relation to the capacity, it's low. Does that make sense? Did I make that harder than it needed to be? Damn it, shut up, Charlie.
Probably.
God.
Now, you mentioned also, Colton, that something has happened in the last, I don't know what the time frame is, but you had mentioned that the spot market has crossed down below contract rates at this point. And, I noticed,
I mentioned that a little earlier.
I noticed that on the DAC guys they have their weekly update, and flatbed rates in most of the country are below $2 right now.
Reefer's way up this week, by the way, which
2
is
cents.
Was it only that? I
Yeah.
saw something a little.
It was higher in certain regions because of the harvest and the Christmas tree thing in Oregon. I actually paid attention. But yeah,
I'll try and find a graph here that gives me the current number. But what you're mentioning, Jeff, is there's a comparison between spot rates and contract rates. And so during the peak of the spot market, when the tender rejection was at 30% and rates were just through the roof, one of the other things we look at is the contract to spot spread. What is it? And so at that time, spot rates were actually sitting at about 25 to 30 cents higher per mile than contract rates. Well, right now it's the inverse and actually worse. It's sitting at about 75 cents negative.
Wow.
So contract rate gets a better rate per mile by about 75 cents.
So historically speaking on that, when the spot rate would drop below contract rate in the past, what would that do to all that? The contract rates that's when we would start seeing the tender rejections? Or am I backwards on that?
Yeah, so there is a relationship between that and tender rejections. If on average the contract rates are however many cents better than the spot rate, well, how often or how likely is it that a contract carrier is going to see a better load in the spot market that they want to haul outside of their contract freight? Not very often.
Gotcha.
And so right now, and there's other stuff at play here too. Right now, it's not very often they want to reject a contract load because it's generally going to be priced higher than a spot load. But also there's downward pressure on the contract rates. So all of these shippers who at the time, during COVID, they basically had to just take what they could get in terms of rates and pay it because they had zero leverage. They had to take the capacity that they could get because there was not enough capacity to haul their loads. Well, now the shippers have all the leverage. They can go to the carrier and say, well, I can go down the street and here's a carrier that will pay what I need it to pay. So there's all this downward pressure. So not only is there downward pressure and your contract rates are coming down or are down now at this point, but the spot market is also depressed. So it's down all the way around.
Seems like a good time for some of these, and I'm not saying that I know anything, but it seems to me like a logical thing that if you're a mega carrier or someone with a lot of contract freight, that you could throw it out on the spot market and make even higher margins on it. Am I wrong here?
You're thinking of it's the inverse of that.
Okay.
Because the spot rates are lower, so they would actually lose money throwing it out there.
But if the contract rate is there, right?
Let's say the contract rate is $250.
Let's say
and they
Swift
can
is
get
getting
Joe
250,
Blow
right?
trucker to do it for $225.
I gotcha.
And throw their freight out on the spot market since it's so jacked up and people are desperate. Some people will take it, and I don't know. Seems like a good way to make some money. I don't know. Does that sound weird? I'm broken. Math is hard.
You're gonna make people get their tinfoil hats out,
right? Oh God, don't do that. I apologize. My bad.
Yeah.
Tinfoil hats. I don't even know what to do with that. So
I don't know.
Yeah, and where to go? Tim said it definitely makes things difficult to plan for. I'd like to stay out and make money, but if there's no freight, I'd rather be at home rather than stuck in my truck somewhere. So frustrating. And Life on 18 said, yeah, I did make it more difficult. So there you go. I can't help.
So one of the things that we started seeing, what was it, last year, Charlie? Where some of the bigger accounts, the Walmarts, Home Depots, Lowe's,
right?
They were starting to ask for actually contracts that only lasted like 2 months.
Yeah, they wanted like quarterly renegotiate. They would sign a 12-month contract with the option to renegotiate at 3 months.
Yeah.
Right.
So in contractor land, in owner operator land here, what we've seen is a loss of opportunities at these dedicated accounts.
Right.
Because the rates have gone down low enough to where they can't afford us.
Right.
At our contract rate, which kind of sucks for us.
Yeah, it takes that special time, like the Thanksgiving rush, maybe the Christmas rush, which I don't think is going to be what it's.
Yeah, it used to be, go to Walmart and haul turkeys for a month.
Oh yeah, I can tell you, Target is slaying it right now. Like we've got a bunch of freight, and that's why I come back to this Target thing because I deliver groceries. One thing that's not going away is the need for food, y'all. TVs and Xboxes, well, that may drop until Christmas, but turkeys and ham and bologna and that stuff, look, that stuff doesn't stop. it slows down a little bit, but it doesn't stop. And it's got to come from the fields to get to the, the wholesalers to the retailers to the general market. And that's where I come in. And so that's a nice place to find. But getting into those spots right now, those rates are so low that for us as contractors, it's hard to find those spots where they can actually afford to run us on that. So I don't know. It's a weird mix. Hello. Thanks for calling. Hey, by the way, if any of you guys want to call in and say hello or ask a question, the phone lines are open. You are welcome to call. It's right there, 813-LIVE-SEC. It's 813-548-3722. If anyone wants to call, you are more than welcome, or definitely type your questions, and I will do better at trying to pick them out of our stuff. So Tim the Trucker Saburn said, seems like that's why Swift doesn't have the freight to give us. They won't book it because they'd lose money by booking it and then sending it to us. Better to pass it up.
Well, Swift is mostly contract freight, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what their current percentage was. I know at one point, like they had a pretty good aggressive spread when the spot market was really insane and great, because it was like a 60-40. They were pulling 40% of the spot market freight, and they were killing it. Especially that's our contract rate.
And Swift does have a brokerage, Swift Logistics,
right?
That goes out and gets that other freight. And every once in a while, we'll see one of those loads.
Well, you know what else goes to that brokerage? Maybe not right now, but a lot of what goes to the brokerage are the loads that they are rejecting and pushing to the brokerage. So the contract loads that they're pushing to the brokerages. So that's why you see so many of these mega carriers that have brokerages.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think they all do at this point, because that's the purpose of it. They've got contractually obligated volume that they have to haul, but they might be able to make better money on certain loads, and so they want to haul the loads they can make better money on and push the less profitable loads to their brokerages.
Right. And Tim's following up. He said, I'd love to get on a dedicated account. I just don't live in an area it's offered. If I was a company driver, I could go to GP out of Big Island, Virginia. Why it's not offered to O is beyond me. I can tell you that it's probably the rate that they are making on those loads. That's why they're not putting owner operators on it, because, maybe they're not making enough margin. You look at some of the Walmart accounts, things like that, for those of us who are over at Swift and contracted there, those contract rates that we go into, if we sign a Walmart contract, I mean, there's some that are as low as like in the high 80s, very low 90s, plus fuel surcharge, and lower accessorial pay for stops and things like that.
Well, I told you that I built a good enough relationship with Opelika where they kind of opened their books to me a little bit, which was interesting, Colton. They technically didn't make any money off of the loads I was running. What it was they didn't have enough capacity to meet their contractual obligation, and Walmart was finding them X amount of dollars for every load they had to give back to Walmart transportation. So by me coming in, I saved them that fine, which meant that I broke even and helped them keep the contract.
Right.
But there's a reason why owner operators on that account only make 92 cents a mile instead of $1.15.
Mm-hmm.
Because they barely broke even with having me there. The reason I was valuable to them, and toot a little bit, I was hauling 1.5 loads to every one of their company drivers work for the day.
On a daily basis, yeah.
On a daily basis, because I was just running my clock out every day. Hey, what do you got? I still got 5 hours left. Send me out, when I get back to the barn. And that created value for them, because that's 2 loads now that they didn't have to give back to Walmart Trans that day.
Right. Mm-hmm. And get fined over.
And I made a killing, Colton. You would have loved to see my books back then.
Right. but on the other side of that, we like I said, if you sign those contracts as a contractor going to Walmart or Target, I can tell you that the last time I heard the Target contract, I believe it was 96 cents a mile plus surcharge, but we still get a normal OTR stop pay and all that other stuff. But you look at the Walmart contract and it's $20 a stop. Our standard stop pay is $35 a stop. There are these exceptions. You get cheap Walmart fuel. Yet, if you ask Timothy Ransom there, and he's running that Corinne right now. I know for the past few weeks that he was getting a better price, through ES versus the Walmart fuel on site.
Right.
And that is amazing by itself, because typically and historically speaking, the Walmart fuel price is why you go to and do that surge, and you're willing to take a lower rate.
We got another Utah. Is that right? Tim's from Utah.
Well, he's definitely out there working surge. I don't know if he's from there or not, but
Hmm.
but he's definitely out there on that surge account out of Corinne, and he's been doing well. I mean, he's been posting numbers and things like that, and that's why I know that I don't know what his numbers are this week as far as fuel costs are, but I know the past couple of weeks that he's been out there, on the ES Advantage fuel card or other means, and getting cheaper fuel costs at these other stops versus the Walmart fuel, which is I mean
Right,
historically unheard of for us.
And the last time I ran Opelika, they were running Walmart. The Walmart DC was running 20 cents a gallon cheaper than any place, including ES. So that is kind of weird.
But hey, you do.
So
you do
so
make it
Tim,
work.
you did the opposite of me. I lived in Oregon at the time, and I live in Utah now.
Right.
And I would travel all the way across the country to go to Opelika, Alabama, and run that account for 3 months.
I used to I would get a load out of Florida, run to Dallas, go down to Temple, Texas, work 3 weeks on surge, and then bobtail home from Texas. I did that for months and months on end because we were just slaying it down there. The Walmart fuel was so cheap you couldn't compete with it, and that was before I even had an outside fuel card, so I couldn't even compare. But I'm willing to bet that at that time it was probably not touchable. And the rates were great, and I was slaying 5,000 miles a week, only working 5 days a week.
Yeah. Hey
You
Tim,
know?
did they need another surge guy? Let me know.
Right?
I plan on going back to work on Thursday.
Good, thank God.
Hey Jeff, I don't want to change the subject too much. Maybe we'll come back to this, but I wanted to ask you: were you home when that what was it? I forget what kind of truck it was. I think it was hauling rock or something. But when
Oh,
that
I
truck in
was.
Tooele ran through the
It was on.
took out the cars and ran into
Yeah,
the
we
auto dealership.
actually did a little show on that last
That
week.
triggered
Oh,
a
did you?
show, yeah, because of that wreck.
Yeah.
Did you show the
so-
footage of the accident on the show?
Yeah.
That was insane.
And I went
It
out and
was.
looked at the accident site, Colton, and this guy, double hoppers, belly dump hoppers, full of
Yeah.
sand is what they were full of.
Hmm.
And you know Tooele, right?
Oh yeah.
It's that little grade coming into town from where all the quarries are. That's that's not even enough of a grade to have a sign.
Right.
Mhm.
And the dude loses his brakes. And he made it from the travel lane through that light over the median, and that one's got a hard median, through the main sign, through all the new cars, and hit the sales building. That's how fast he was going.
Yeah.
He's lucky
I
he
mean,
didn't kill somebody.
Oh, I can't believe nobody died. I
Right.
mean, when you see those cars flying through the air as he went through the intersection, it's like, oh man, how did anybody survive that?
Yeah, we played the Channel 4 ABC news footage on that, and with the whole reporter talking about it, and that was insane. They had that one dash cam that was right there at the front, and the guy moved like he's like, "Oh crap!" Pulled out of the way, and you watch him zoom by. You're like, "Holy!" Oh my God! It put weird tightening up in strange places on me. Triggered a whole show last week. I mean, it didn't, but like, you know what? Let's start talking safety again, because clearly things need to happen. Better pre-trips, y'all. Can't wait to see. I'm almost afraid to see.
Well, Colton, those trucks too. Someone had mentioned on the show last week that kind of looked like a POS truck. A lot of the quarry trucks look like that. They're older, usually Peterbilts with the cat motor in them, because they're hauling really heavy stuff,
Right.
And my first question when I learned what happened, because what it was I went to the terminal to move the truck and order some tires. And we were on our way back, and our friend called and says Main Street is closed. So we went around to Grantsville, and nobody knows what I'm talking about but Colton. But anyway, to come home, and then we would find out what happened. And my first reaction was, did the guy even pre-trip his truck? I mean, seriously, one news report said that his steer tires actually caught on fire. So
Yikes.
Right.
So I don't know. Did you tug on the slack adjusters at all? Did you? I don't know.
Did you?
Well, he must have plowed through 50 cars, you think, before he came to a stop?
They said 30.
30? Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet Lord.
So there's a guy that's not going to drive anymore,
Yep.
and an aggregate company that's going to owe a whole lot of money to a whole lot of
Oh
people.
my God, that's like a bankruptcy claim. Right there.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
told Donna, I
insurance
said,
won't cover so much.
I'm sure there's a few people that are going to retire out of this.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, good God, I just can't
And
even
that's not
imagine
even the
being
human
that.
cost. The one person that went to ICU in Salt Lake, they had to life flight her, was like an 80-year-old grandma.
Right.
So
Hey, Jeff.
only,
Tim said,
only 11 people got hurt though.
that was amazing. Tim said, Jeff, I believe they will. Some of the surge drivers are going home for Thanksgiving, but I'm staying till they no longer need me and kick me off. That's the way to work those accounts right there. Stay until they make you leave.
Yeah, when they come at you, when they hand you a contract with your bills, just leave.
Yeah. Like, no, thank you. I mean, unless that's what it's going to work for you.
Hey, if you could do me a favor, Tim, and ask them, say, hey, you've got a buddy. That'd be great. See,
Tim,
I'm working relationships live
Right.
on the air, Charlie.
Right, I see that. So Tim the trucker saver said, I might get on Bush Beans surge after Thanksgiving, but she said it's tough. There's no freight from my area to Dandridge, which would be a 300-mile deadhead. I actually offered to eat that to get on the account. Look, there's an argument to be made there as long as the numbers work out.
And if you're going to do bush beans, we have a guy you need to talk to.
Yeah, we have 2 up there now. Mark Olinger is your first point of contact to talk to about actually making money on that account. He's been on that account several years, and he was here in the show earlier. I know he checked in. He was live with us here. He's a good person to talk to. And Matt Nissen just went over there recently, and he's starting over there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
So Colton, this is one of the drums we've been banging on for about the last 18 months when the things started really looking like they were actually bad instead of just a little hiccup.
Mm-hmm.
People need to be willing to do things that they weren't willing to do before.
Right.
I consider myself a refugee from Oregon, and part of that is that stupid mileage tax they have up there.
Right.
And I swear I'd never go back to Oregon. I'm done with Oregon, except for vacation and visiting family. I'm not taking my truck there. 2 months after I moved here, guess where Jeff was? Running a load up through Oregon. Why? Because that's what there was, and I needed to move.
Mm-hmm.
There's right now is not the time to be saying, oh, 44,000 pounds, I'm not taking that. Or, oh, Oregon, California, whatever. Hey, man, would you rather sit 3 days?
The needs of the business need to be taken into right. You need to consider that. I mean, look,
And being
this guy
smart
right
about it.
here. Yeah, this guy right here swore he'd never get a brand new truck. I got a 23 with 181,000 miles on it. Got it with 28 miles on it. And Lord knows that I pay for all the times I said I will never, ever, ever get me a new truck because that's just stupid. Well, guess what?
Yeah, Colton, he used to tell people that if you gave him a brand new truck for free, he would sell it and buy 3 Chewies.
Yep. There's plenty of documentation out there to back that up too. And boy, did I eat those words, because things changed and things happened that required me to make a decision, and I mean, you can say, I'm not doing that. I don't go here. I don't go there. But look, when times get hard and business starts hurting, I mean, you got to start being able to make good decisions. And you know what? Having an accounting firm like Trucker CFO behind you who can actually go over your numbers and do things like that and be there to coach you and help consult you, having people like Jeff and I, or the private community that we run, or the private Facebook group, to have people to bounce all these numbers off of, to help you make a better, more informed decision rather. These things are important. And to answer your question, Michael, dumb question. It's not a dumb question. It's Trucker CFO, the accounting place you all talk about. Absolutely.
Yep.
So definitely, the numbers scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You can go to truckercfo.com, and the number is not on my screen yet, but as soon as it pops up, you could also go to info@truckercfo.com, www.truckercfo.com,
or you can go to contractorscorner.cc.
You're right. or you can call 800-533-4230 and talk to them about their services and what they could do for you. I just feel it's important to put that out there. Anyone watching this on the replay, I hope you're putting questions down below as you're watching this thing, because we will answer your questions one way or another. We will find you an answer. If you're there, let us know. Say, hey, Replay Warriors, because we got a couple of those and I like them and they're fun. Like Hey Me, not Hey Now, but Hey Me is on there all the time and I like it and it's fun. But yeah, so if you guys have questions, by all means, please throw them up. Randy Shackelford, good to see you. Thank you. But yeah, you know, throw your questions up. Like I said, the phone number's up there if you want to call. It's 813-548-3722. Wow, I can't believe I pulled it out of my head.
Yeah, we have quite a few members, Colton, that think the way we do, but I think Craig has got to be the most active in our groups.
Right.
And so the needs of my business took me from NER to 57G reefer. So what NER was, Colton, was a Northeast regional account that was percentage pay. It was not mileage pay.
And it used to be 60%.
And now it's 55.
Right.
So this is a guy that's made 3 changes in the last year based on nothing but data.
Absolute data.
He asked a lot of questions of a lot of people, ran the numbers, and right now he's doing reefer and he's doing pretty well. You know, and you know the crazy thing, Colton, that he did when he started on that reefer account, you know what he did?
What's that?
He drove himself to the terminal that manages that account and introduced himself to the reefer fleet manager and said, "What do you need?"
It's a very good point, because if you think your business, like, what's the most important asset in your business? It's not your truck. Your truck is important, obviously, but the most important asset in your business is the relationships that you build and sustain.
Right.
If you think if you just want to go out there and just run and, you know, do your thing and not talk to anybody, you know, okay, you might make it, you might not. But if you're the one that's doing things differently, if you're putting yourself out there, if you're being a good person, creating good relationships, then that's going to be a big difference in your ability to go out and make money. So doing something like that, good job, Craig.
Yeah. Well, here's the crazy thing he found out. So he was running this Northeast regional account going in and out of New York all the time. Doesn't bother him. And this dude said, you know what we have a hard time getting people to do is going up into New England. And Craig was like, I'll do that.
Yeah. He's like, well, why not?
Yeah. Well, at Swift, we're afraid of getting stuck there. And in dry van, that's definitely a thing. But in this dedicated reefer thing, they had backhauls. So then it turns into, I just don't want to go to New York, which is legitimate. I mean, let's be real. New York sucks. But hey, if you're willing to do some of those things, we had a guy running a Target out of New York that went that did this store in New York City. And the bonus for that store was, what was it, $200?
I think it was an extra $100 just to run it.
Just to go to that zip code. And nobody else would do it. He's like, for another $100, I'll do it. You know?
And was slaying it. I mean, absolutely slaying it. Had it on lockdown as a contractor, was doing really well.
Yeah.
So Tim the Trucker Saber and Colton asked, or he said, Colton, how much are your services? I can't read it that way. Colton, how much are your services? I can tell you that I believe Tim owns his truck outright. Just throwing that out there.
So it's going to depend on if you're solo or team. Solo, generally speaking, you're going to pay $24.99 a week. We do charge by the week for the most part, just because it matches your settlement statement, makes it easy that way. And so $24.99 a week, that's going to include the accounting portion of things. So it's going to take your settlement. It's going to take out-of-pocket expenses that don't run through your settlement. We're going to do the bookkeeping on that. So we're going to populate your profit loss statement. With that profit loss statement, we're going to calculate your estimated taxes on a quarterly basis, tell you how much we think you should pay. It's then up to you to pay it. And then it's going to include your tax return. That tax return that's included in that $24.99 is going to be for a single member LLC or a sole proprietor, meaning you file on a Schedule C. from there, the price goes up if you're a team, if you are an S corporation, if you're a partnership, meaning, S corps and partnerships, they need a business return. So there's a few variances there that we would just want to talk to folks about. But it seems like most of the people fit into that $24.99 a week.
Right. And Randy, I apologize for missing that. He wants to know how is excess mileage? So on the Swift contract, we pay an extra 9 cents a mile into an escrow account. If we exceed a certain mileage number, I believe it's 10,000 miles a
10,000 miles
month.
a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that handled?
Okay, that's a great question, and it's one that comes up because there's all kinds of different escrow accounts with the various different carriers. The answer to the question on any escrow account is always going to be determined by answering this. Do you get the money back when you leave, or does the carrier keep it?
I can answer that.
Depends.
If you're going to love this because it's slightly convoluted. If you turn in that truck, okay, and this is not contractually bound that I am aware of, but they will take 80% of that and put that into your new truck if you lease another truck from them. If you turn in that truck and walk away and leave, you get nothing. It stays with the truck. If you purchase the truck at the end of your lease, 100% of that escrow account goes towards the purchase price of the truck.
So we probably need to look at the contract because if there are all of these stipulations, different things within the contract that say they get the money, you get the money. It really comes down to the legal language of whose money is it.
Right.
If it's
Right.
your money and they're just holding it for you, and then they say, well, you tore a seat, or we need new steers, or whatever the case may be, they're going to take some of that money to offset it. It still is your money. They're just paying now to fix things. But in other cases, the money is actually theirs, right? They're essentially holding it, and they'll allow you to use it for certain things. But pretty much in no circumstances are you going to get that money back if you were to leave. Then it's handled a different way. So to answer the question, how's it treated for taxes? If it is your money, then it's essentially an asset. That it's like a bank account. You've just got cash sitting in an account, in this case, an escrow account, and it's not an expense. It's just like if you took money and put it into a savings account. It's not an expense. And so you don't get to treat it as an expense for tax purposes until you use it. So if that's the case and you turn the truck back in and let's say you've got $5,000 in there and they charge you $4,000, you're then going to get an expense deduction on the $4,000 that they took from the $5,000 that you have, and then you get the $1,000 back. Okay. Whereas if it is not your money, it's their money, then it is a deduction off as an expense from your settlement as you incur that deduction.
So if, let's just say they have $5,000 in that account, they complete the lease, they buy the truck, it goes towards the buyout of the truck.
So in that case, it's going to count as a down payment on a new truck, and it's not going to be an expense deduction.
Towards the payoff of the truck that they just completed the lease on. They're buying out that truck. That's how it's really set up for.
So towards the payoff of that truck, you're
Right.
essentially buying the truck at that point.
Yes.
So you're going to set the truck, you're buying it out of the lease. It's now your truck. You're going to set up an asset on your books for, let's say it's a $35,000 buyout. Okay. You now have an asset, a tax asset of $35,000. You're going to depreciate that $35,000 over the next 3 years, or 4, really. You're going to take, 4 years. I can get into the numbers on that a little bit later, but so you're going to depreciate that over 4 years, and the amount that they apply towards buying that out is essentially a down payment on buying out the lease.
Okay.
Or let me back up a little bit.
So
Again, you got to look at the numbers, because it could be that amount that they're paying is actually considered a lease payment. And so if it's considered a lease payment, then it is a deduction, a lease expense in the current year. So just have to understand all the particulars and the way the language is written in your finance documents as you walk away with that truck.
I've got an easy answer. It depends.
There you go.
I like that one. I'm sorry. I love that question, that answer. Oh, Lord. I'm sure I'm missing something, Jeff.
You're asking me to think?
Never mind. I got it. I'm reading. You guys talk amongst yourselves and be beautiful people.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I actually wanted to bring up, so the reason I like Colton is a very, you have people in the world that are very technical, professional people. And then you have dudes, right? Dudes are like, Jeff and I, when Jeff and I speak with each other, we're total dudes. We like, bro, this and that. And we talk the numbers and it's not quite nerding out really that bad. When we get on here, we do tend to nerd out a little bit more. Colton is kind of an interesting bird. And I like this because Colton can break this stuff down into dude speak while being a really smart, technical professional. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying that the right way because it truly is meant as a compliment. It's not that there's anything wrong with the technical professional, but our audience is more dudes than technical professionals. Let's face that. We're trying to bring a little more technical professional into what we do, but we're all mostly still dudes, right? And the fact that you can break this stuff down into chunks that are so much easier to digest and keep, bro, I don't even know what to say. Like that all by itself is hugely valuable to me. And I know that it's valuable to people, that watch the show.
Good. I appreciate that. I do try to connect. I try not to be the pocket protector wearing stereotypical, accountant or CPA. And that's not me.
I'll say this, Charlie. The first time I met Colton for lunch at a place that you will go to the next time you visit Utah.
Mm-hmm. Good place.
He drives the truck that you would expect him to drive.
Nice. Nice. I dig it.
Red Iguana, for those of you that are from Utah.
Wait, you took me there. I've eaten there. Isn't that where we went?
No, we went to Mo Bettis.
Oh yeah. Here's Mo. I mean, Mo Bettis. I like Mo Bettis, but if this is Mo Bettis, then
Oh, okay.
Red Iguana. Not even the same style of food.
He was holding out on me, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to take you all out there.
Good God.
Yeah. I mean, just look in my background. I guess that kind of says more about who I am.
And in case you don't notice, there's a freaking bear on his wall. Just saying. It is. He's got a freaking bear. Look at that. Yep. Only time
and I got a whitetail in the background. I've got my muley.
I love it.
I've got an elk upstairs. So speaking of hunting, I've been looking for a client that has access to some really good whitetail hunting. If there's anybody out there like that, give me a call. I might be able to do some trade work here.
Oh, I see some trading coming.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. Relationships, y'all. Relationships.
There you go.
You know who else is really into that sort of stuff, Colton? Believe it or not, he is Sue Smith, who you met at our conference last year.
She's been slaying.
So she went out fishing, and totally had a bust fishing day, but came back with a wild boar anyway.
Oh,
that her man shot with a pistol from the boat
on the bow of the boat, running up the shoreline.
Wow.
It was a great shot. I think it was 2 or 3 shots, but got the damn boar and took it home. And so they didn't go home empty-handed. And this year she's gotten, I just talked to her today about it. I believe 2 or 3 does. Grant got a buck, and I don't even know how many hogs they got already because they just keep flying out in front of them. Oh, but she did manage to kill a deer that Grant missed with her car.
Oh. Well, I'll take whitetail hunting. I'll take hog hunting. I'll take, what I really like is an alligator.
Right. Me too, man. And I live here. That's a tough tag to get a hold of. It's a lottery. You got to enter a lottery for it.
It's how it is out here for all the big game out here. It's pretty much a lottery.
Right. Oh man, I'd love to. Oh, you know what? I can tell you right now that we actually got 1, 2, 3. I believe it was 3 or 4 hogs right here in my neighborhood in city limits. Not going to talk about how we got them, but we got them.
Hey, I got to correct something real quick.
Yes, sir.
I do not want this out there about me. I see life on 18 wheels. What did he say about me? Can you
Oh
put it up
Lord.
there?
Yep. Let me click on it.
No, it's not an F-150 kind of guy.
No, no,
Them's
no,
fighting
that's
words
not
for
me.
him.
Yeah, no, I'm a Chev 1-ton Silverado.
Look at this. Look.
There you go. He's a Chev man.
What the hell you
Yeah,
saying is wrong with the 150, Colton? I'll fight you. I don't care. I ain't scared of your muscles.
I'm
Oh,
just
wait, what?
saying. I'm just saying the 150. And I don't care if it's a Ford or a Chevy. The 1-ton is not going to haul my fifth wheel with my side by sides behind that. I'm rolling down the road at like 75 feet long.
This guy's running double triples out there. Oh my
Yeah.
God, listen to him. But he don't need a CDL. I'm just saying, whatever. There's a whole
Nope.
thing that's been going on with this. Have you seen any of these Facebook posts? They're like, this doesn't need a CDL, but this does. And they show a shot truck with a tiny little trailer behind it. Cracks me up.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Look, I drive a F-150. You want to know why? Because it's cheap. It's 2-wheel drive even. It's the most base model F-150 you've ever seen. Plastic seats. It was owned by a city that did like bug spraying or something. I got it for like nothing. It was great. I just used to haul crap out to the property back and forth. That's all that truck's for. But I do own an F-350 custom camper special that's still sitting in Oregon that I still need to get to Florida somehow because it's just too damn expensive to ship that thing. And I can't drive it here because who can afford that?
So what is this? Does anybody know who I am?
No.
I'm a Dodge driver.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, we just offended somebody. That's all right. Let's make it happen. Oh, Lord.
Why do they do that? The Dodge drivers, every single one of them, they take their mirrors and they flip them up and they drive down the road like this.
Right.
I don't
It's
know.
so much fun.
I'll offend Dodge drivers and BMW drivers all day long.
Okay, does anybody here drive an Audi? If so, you're about to be offended. You're all assholes. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm done. I've only met one decent person that drove an Audi, and I just found out that, and you could have told me I never would have believed it, and I just found out it was true, and now he's got a Jaguar. I'm like, what?
Hey, can I give another plug about the Trucker CFO?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's now's a good time. You can switch or come on at Trucker CFO anytime. But now is the perfect time to switch. As we're getting ready to head into a new year.
Right.
Start off the new year taking care of all of your accounting, and we'll even do your tax return for 2023. I'm happy to do that, and we can work out some pricing for you. We are going to be better than the 800-pound gorilla, as you guys said, without a doubt. There's a lot of folks out there that know Jessica. We do put most of our Swift drivers with Jessica. There's other folks on the team, and you may get to know them. We'd love to have you.
Give them a call, 800-533-4230 or info@truckercfo.com. Or you can go to contractorscorner.cc and you'll find a link to his magical website right there as well.
Colton, 2 of the services that you offer, one's an affiliate, not really your service, and the other one I think that you actually offer that I haven't taken advantage of. You do an escrow account for the taxes for sole props, right?
So we did.
You did.
Yes, we are in the process of doing away with that because of various banking regulations. As regulations just get more and more crazy, we've made the decision to do away with the escrow account. So what we tell people, we're still going to give you the estimated tax amount that you should pay. That's part of the process or part of the service, but we're not going to have you put money into an escrow account that we hold and then cut the check out of that escrow account and send it into the IRS for you. So
Sounds like a nightmare.
yeah, it's just not something we want to deal with. There's a legal risk involved with it, and we've just decided to do away with it. So not a big deal. Doesn't take a lot. That's the only thing that comes off the service. So we tell people, hey, just open up a savings account, put that money into the savings accounts. Forget about the savings account, lose your password to the savings account until it's time to pay your quarterly taxes, and then call the bank and tell them to reset your password. Don't spend the money is what I'm saying. So that was really the nicest part about the escrow, is it just made it harder, more difficult for folks to get to their money. We would never hold their money hostage, but it was, another step away from them. And so it was really intended to be used for taxes. But you can do that yourself. Just be disciplined.
One of the things that we do with our emergency account, I have an S corp, so my most of my taxes are paid through my W-2, and I have solar and all sorts of things that takes care of the rest for now. But one of the things that I would recommend and that worked for us for our emergency fund is go set the account up somewhere where you do not have a debit card. Do not set up online access to it. I highly recommend like the local credit union or something. And my wife used to just go down and stroke a check out of the truck account and put it in that account, and it was there if someone was bleeding, because we had to physically go down and get it.
Right.
There was no way that we could get it without going to the bank. And that's a good way to do it, because yes, adulting's hard and most of us suck at it. So you got to put up barriers to yourself. So the other thing that I thought was interesting, Colton, that I won't get into the reasons why I didn't take advantage of it, but you have a deal with a payroll company. And I did look into the deal that you set up with them for your clients. And for those of you that are small fleet owners, they do an interesting thing, because I found this part of setting up my corporation very frustrating and time consuming. And that is that they will help you set up your tax licensing, your unemployment, all that stuff in whatever state your employee is in. And so if I had a small fleet, I would absolutely be looking into that service.
Or if you're an S corporation. If you're an S corporation and you don't want to handle the payroll, the W-2 income yourself, keep in mind or remember that you're required to take reasonable compensation if you're an S corporation.
Yep.
And so what we do is we have a relationship with ADP. What happens is we take, between us and ADP, we take the guesswork and the difficulties of setting up those accounts off your plate. It's all going to get set up for you in whatever state you happen to be or happen to be paying drivers or yourself in, and just makes it really slick. So it's a good service.
Right. Like I said, stuff's falling over.
Good thing you had pants on there, Jeff.
Yeah. Like I told you at the time, Colton, I have a payroll service already. And if I had met you before I had that payroll service, I probably would have taken you up on it, because setting up all that tax stuff on my own on a discount payroll service, let's be real here, guys. You get what you pay for. And now that it's set up, I'm happy with my service. But man, setting it up, I was afraid that I was gonna get fined or something, because it was taking me so long to figure some of this stuff out.
And another piece to this is, because of our relationship with ADP, we are getting all of the data. So ADP is going to file all of your 940s and 941s, whatever applies. And then we have access to all of your weekly reports. So we pull that data in automatically for your profit loss statement. You don't have to send it to us. We pull your W-2s for tax purposes, so you don't have to send it to us. They will send out all the 1099s or W-2s for your other drivers. You don't have to do any of that. So it's pretty slick. It just takes it right off your hands, off your plate.
Yeah. Anything that makes things easier for you on the back end, guys. Tony Dennis has become a good friend of ours through working with him at Seabright Insurance. And he likes to point out every chance he can. He likes to ask me, Jeff, do you have an MBA? I do not have an MBA, and yet you're in a business. Yes, I do, but I hire smart people to do the things that I don't know how to do. And that makes all the difference.
It does. Rely on professionals.
I personally really bang on the have a team. Colton is my CFO. And when you call his organization, they will go over what that really means. He actually takes that seriously. There's been at least once, Colton, where I've called you just for a consult because I was thinking about a change, and you and I ran over things, and I ended up just staying at Swift. but you had a recommendation and you left it at that. You said, Jeff, this is my recommendation for you.
Mhm.
And then silence. And that was my time as the CEO to make my choice. But
Yeah.
they will absolutely go over the numbers with you. They will go over everything that you need to know to make a good decision. And that's one of the big difference between other services that I've had and your service, Colton, is that personalized. I mean, you're a busy guy, and I could text you, and sometimes it might be a week because you're the owner of the company and you're really, really busy. But eventually, I will get a consult with you. I've even talked to dang it, I'm going to mess up the name, aren't I? Julie. And asked her a question. She said, "Well, that's really a Colton question." I said, "Well, when could I talk to Colton?" And she gets in your scheduler and schedules me an appointment.
Yeah. Jessica.
I told you I was going to mess it up. I should remember that because I have a cousin named Jessica. Dang it. I knew it earlier today when she called.
Yeah.
Shame.
How about Randy's question?
Gotcha. Pulling it up. I got it. I crashed, by the way. Whole computer just said, nope, not working.
My lights flickered, so I might be in the same boat here.
So Randy just asked a question for Colton. When I do a 34 reset, I stay at a hotel. I haven't been great about grabbing receipts. Can you just take a snapshot from your business bank account of hotel expenditures?
So yes, you can take that as an expense deduction without the receipts. Now, if you are audited and the auditor comes in and says, let me see that receipt, it is a possibility it will be disallowed because you are required to provide the receipt. Is it a guarantee it'll be disallowed? No. It's going to depend on your ability, or perhaps our ability working with you through that audit, to work with that auditor on these exceptions in order to get those types of situations to remain in the tax return. But they can, by all means, decide to disallow it.
So did I just hear it depends? Sorry, I can't help it.
It's a yes, but if you're audited, it might be a no.
Right. And that's like a legitimate thing. Look, so just to go further on that, like those receipts you get, and they're those heat transfer crappy receipts that wear out and disappear, and they go blank white paper a month after you had them. What the hell are you supposed to do with that?
So you want to digitize your receipts. Now here's the crazy thing: the IRS will not allow a digitized version of a receipt. However, if you have the digitized version and then you have that completely faded heat, receipt impacted by the heat, and it's just you can't read it anymore, you can say, here's my original digitized version and here's the faded original, and they will take it.
So wait. So maybe write a note on top of that heat transfer crappy one that says hotel receipt this date.
Sure.
And then scan that. And then you can match those up because the pen ink's going to stay there, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah. You want to digitize it
right
as soon as you can. And the nice thing about our service is when you send those receipts to us, we automatically are digitizing them, right? We're taking those, they are stored in your portal. And so you've got that electronic version of those receipts. You do need to keep the originals though, because we cannot just print out the digitized versions, provide it to the IRS and say, here you go. We've got to have the originals with it. And then if by that point, I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff. Well, maybe you would. Some of the stuff we see coming out of trucks, somebody's keeping their receipts in a garbage bag and they've got a cat or a dog in the truck with them. And, there's all kinds of stuff that comes out of those trucks. No kidding. I have had to put some of my employees into like hazmat gear to go through some of these bags that have shown up. But point being, yeah, you want to have the nice, clean, digitized version and then your original. So keep your originals.
So we don't get this opportunity very often with Randy, Charley, but I'm going to throw this one up there because I don't know what he means. It's a dumb question, but ask me how many fornications I have to give.
I can answer this. I'm going to get in trouble if I do it.
What's that? You know what it means?
My field of fucks is barren. I have no fucks left to give.
Oh,
I apologize. I'm done now. I'm going to get in trouble for that one later.
yeah. I think Don's about ready to come over and smack you through the screen.
Sorry, Donna. I love you. I do. Many hugs your way. Jeff made me do it.
Okay.
Fornication.
I just did not
Jeff,
know what that meant. So
fornication.
there we
Jeff.
go.
He was using proper language, and you made me use the bad terminology that I'm going to get yelled at for now. Good God, man.
So, Tim, he asks, so you're keeping those receipts on hard copies since we send them into you. So we will take it, but we don't want you sending us the originals. Right. That's not what we're getting at. What I'm saying is you should scan or take a picture and send us a digitized copy of that receipt. And we then keep that, and it's all stored and in the cloud and backed up, and it's never going anywhere. You're not going to lose it there.
Right.
But you then keep the originals. Because if you're audited, we need to be able to tell the auditor, here are all the originals. It's nice because we will still print out the digitized copies, and we'll put them into a nice, I mean, we've been through audits. We've had stacks, a foot thick of documentation we're sending to the IRS. And we will do that, and we will tell the IRS we have the originals. And if the IRS wants to, they will say, send us the originals. It doesn't always happen, but they can. Right. That's the point. And so if you get into a bad audit where the auditor, maybe the auditor's just a jerk, maybe it's a situation where there's discrepancies, and so they start to scrutinize things more. They'll come back and say, we want to see the originals, and we have to be able to provide them. And so you need to keep those. You should keep those, but we're going to handle most of the upfront work.
How long should we keep those hard copy receipts? I mean, 7 years, 10 years, 1,000?
So what's your favorite word, Charlie?
It depends.
There you go. It depends. Generally speaking, if you have filed your return on time, 3 years is going to be enough. That being said, if you have a situation, let's say you've kept them for 3 years. So let's say it's 2020, right? You get audited for 2020, and a bunch of issues come up with your 2020 audits. And that auditor says, you know what, we are now going to audit you for 2019. And more issues come up, and we're now going to audit you for 2018. They can go back as many as 7 years. Okay. And the dates that they're looking at are going to be off of your tax filing date. So for folks that have filed late, it's 3 years from the date you filed, not 3 years from the date of the return due date. It depends. Generally speaking, if things are all hunky dory and you're completely upfront with everything and doing things the right way, 3 years is good.
7 years from the date of file is the limit?
There are situations where it can go back as far as 10.
Okay, gotcha. Just figure I'd throw out all the possibilities here and just,
Or if you're a famous politician, 20.
Oh.
Just saying.
Bad,
Jeff.
Tim said, just thinking if you join your service 9 months in or so, that's a ton of receipts to take pics of. Seems easier just to throw them in an envelope to y'all. We
will take it.
But you know what?
And a lot of times we call it back bookkeeping. A lot of times the back bookkeeping is done that way because he's right. It'd be a lot of scanning that he has to do. But that's why now is a great time to sign up for our services. Get going right out of the gate for 2024 and just start sending us those receipts. We tell people at a minimum, we want you to send your stuff in once a month. Ideally, you're doing it once a week to perhaps real time, meaning you buy something, you take a picture of it, email it to us.
Right.
A lot of times I get asked the question, do you have an app? Honestly, the apps, we had an app. We stopped doing the app. The apps, it takes you longer to open up the app, take the picture, upload the picture to the app, submit it through. Like, just take a picture and email it to us. We've got receipts at truckercfo.com. Take a picture, you select the picture, you hit email, and off it goes. It's quicker and easier than the apps. Until they come up with something better than the way these email systems work, that's the way we're going to do it.
Life on 18 Wheels said, well, I learned something new today. Got to go find the originals. There you go. And Bear Hunter, Sean.
Wait, I was told not to send you receipts. So you don't have to send us the receipts. We will digitize them for us. You can do what we call an out-of-pocket expense form, and you can just hand write all of your expenses. So there's lots of different situations. I'd have to know specifically what the situation was that you were told not to send us receipts. I can look into that, but anyway, yeah.
Well, I
We'll
know
definitely
that
take the receipts.
I know that when I went on through my onboarding with Jessica, the way she put it was, we prefer that you just snap a picture and email it to us.
Right.
That's what we prefer.
And she did emphasize that.
Yeah.
And so that's
it also, Bear Hunter, if it's about the back bookkeeping portion of it, so there's different services that people pay for, and again, I don't know what your situation or service was, but as an example, if somebody is 9 months into the year, they can send us all of their receipts, but you then need to pay for each of those months as if you had been active, right? Because we're doing the work, we just happen to be doing it now instead of throughout each of those months. So you got to pay for that. So if you don't want to pay for that, you need to summarize those expenses for us, and we will then take that and include it into your bookkeeping, and then you can start sending the receipts to us via email or picture or whatever.
So
for the current month.
So Bear Hunter has your over $250,000 a year service.
Okay. You're gonna have to tell me. You're gonna have to tell me his name after we get off.
It's Sean.
Sean Holloway. Sorry, Sean.
I know Sean very well.
We love picking on Sean. It's fun.
Okay. And Sean, Sean, you're on a very different service. He's not on the $24.99 service that I mentioned. Sean his business is such that his business is required to have not only an income statement, but a balance sheet. We run his business actually through QuickBooks. The reason you don't send us the receipt, Sean, is because your bank account and credit cards are actually linked to QuickBooks, and all of it comes in through that. So we don't need your receipts. That being said, you should still keep your originals. And if you want a digitized copy of your originals, you're going to need to, somehow do that on your own. But we doing all your reconciliations and whatnot through QuickBooks.
So I can answer this one real quick. Michael asked, is your service payroll deductible like the service from Colorado? Nope. And Swift is actually trying to get away from payroll deduction type stuff anyhow. Don't know how long that stuff is going to last over there anyway. Just throwing it out there.
So we will bill credit cards and just do it that way.
There you go. Set that up on auto pay, yo. Make it happen.
Yep.
And yeah, Bear Hunter, we all know the real deal. Look, stop it. We got you. We know who we're talking to. God, man. Gotta be all difficult. Use proper names and stuff. Good Lord. Oh, let's see. I feel like I missed something up here. Someone said, Tim was talking about setting money aside for taxes. Dave Ramsey suggested money market account for your emergency fund, which I have with Schwab, which used to be with USAA until they switched it on me. There you go.
Schwab's taking over the universe right now.
Right. There's a lot of that going on. Hey, I was reading something on, where the hell did it go? I forget who it was. Who was
one of the industry
things? They were talking about mergers and acquisitions.
Not mergers and executions.
Right, not mergers and acquisitions. But mergers and acquisitions. I don't know if you got any insight on this stuff, but they're talking about that it's the number of mergers and acquisitions has been down over the last year or so, and that they think that it's primed to start going up. So we could actually see a lot more companies being bought up and merged and swallowed up by others. Any idea on that?
So I think what you're seeing right now is some companies are definitely in a buying spree. I mean, you look at a company like Forward Air.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They're buying left and right. There's a lot in the news right now about Forward Air and Omni. I think it's
Yeah,
Omni. if I
yeah,
remember
that's like
right.
biting them in the ass, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a whole thing.
There's a whole bunch of internal politics going on there
Right.
with regards to that particular acquisition. But so some companies are just continuing to do that. I think what you're seeing is because of the way the market is right now, the downturn that companies are seeing is companies are kind of waiting it out. They want to see what happens. Can they get something on the cheap by just waiting? Maybe they buy something out of bankruptcy. There's been a lot of that going on with Yellow. It still is trying
Right.
to be figured out what's going to happen there. But even with smaller companies, there's just a lot of waiting for the bottom to hit because they don't want
Right.
to buy now and overpay. But I think as we get closer to that bottom, you will see more and more acquisitions take place.
I think it'll be interesting to see who buys who and who comes out on the back end. And it's funny because you see some of these companies get bought out, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I would love for someone to buy me out. Right?
There you go.
Buy me out, yo. I'm just saying, because depending on how you look at it, it could be a win. It could be a windfall. Put you into something else. I don't know. Weird stuff. Squirrel. Bear Hunter did it. It's Bear Hunter's fault. So
He's good at that.
Oh yeah, Michael said they're definitely doing away with payroll deduct for medical. So there you go. Yeah, and open enrollment is happening right now, people. Just to dive back into that weird thing I've been talking about the last couple weeks. Go check out eshealthplans.com if you haven't already done so. You might want to check them out and talk to Greg there, and you'll talk to that guy, and he's not going to try and sell you a bunch of crap you don't need. That's one of the things I like about him. And you know what? I think Colton's that way too. He doesn't try to sell you crap that you don't need. He's trying to put you into what it is that you need to manage and support your business. Yes, squirrel. Ida's one of my people that understands squirrels. They're all over her office. Literally, there are squirrels in her office. There's stuffed plushy squirrels everywhere.
Nice.
Where is Ida's office?
She's at the Target DC. She runs the Target DC the Swift portion of it that I run all the time. And she's the person who's going to have to yell at me someday soon for my F-bombs that I dropped this week, apparently. Whatever.
Yeah, Charley got turned in for being bad.
I'm going back to my shirt. That was my response to her earlier when she said that someone was complaining about me. And apparently HR rules are stupid and I don't get to know who made accusations, but whatever, that's fine. Jeff knows that I went off on Jeff a little while before the show about that very subject. I'm like, if this was legal and I was being arrested or sued, I would get to face my accusers, but the HR world is stupid and I don't get to do that. So whatever.
Yep.
Life on 18 Wheels said, speaking of merger and acquisition, what's your take on JB Hunt and the railroad deal? What?
Don't know if I have a take on that. That's not one I've read up on. So.
Yeah, I haven't read up on that either. Interesting.
There you go. Yeah, so we don't know. Maybe we can dip into that in the very near future. It won't be next week because next week I'm going to be high out of my mind when I do the show.
Yeah, we're going to have Batman Returns.
I will be.
I'm going to make sure. I'm going to make sure that comes up. So, getting back to changing how you do things a little bit. Colton, I've listened to so many podcasts this week, so if it's not you, I apologize. But you were talking about the increase of rail business versus the truckload dry vans.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason for that, and you had some advice for people on maybe looking into getting into more rail friendly freight to bridge the gap here while we're waiting for things to turn around.
Mm-hmm. So generally speaking, what I was getting at is understanding where you can make money in the market, because there is money to be made. Another area that I actually read or heard a little bit about was expedite. And I'll get into that a little bit here, but yeah. So what I was hearing and reading about was that because of the inventory situation with many of the shippers, there's just not the demand, the need to get new inventory there quickly because they've got a surplus of inventory. And as I'm thinking about this actually makes sense and plays into what I was saying about expedite. So we'll get into that here momentarily. But So that being said, there are, as stuff's coming across, as containers are coming across into the ports and whatnot. Normally, it's going to offload at the port and make its way onto a truck to go cross country. More and more of those loads are actually staying or getting put onto rail and making their way across at a much slower pace to the inner parts of the country because they just don't have the need to get it there quickly, and they're able to do that or want to do that because it's a cheaper form of transportation for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's one thing. That being said, um, there are situations that are popping up where all of a sudden inventory, for a particular product is in a situation where it's low, right? They need it and they need it quick. And so there's actually some really good opportunity in expedite, especially heading into the busy season, because there's more need for some of those expedite loads. And so it's kind of the opposite side of the rail, right? They're shipping it by rail, but then all of a sudden something pops up and they need it, and so they're putting it onto an expedite truck.
It's funny. I was just offered an opportunity here recently, but I had to put it off for now because of all the surgery crap going on. But it's one of those deals. It's an expedite run out of Ohio to Miami, Florida on a regular basis. And it's I mean, they are slaying. It's a super tight run. And it's an outside company. Well, it's one of the Swift family companies, I guess you could call it. And they are looking for people who can run expedited, who have impeccable on-time delivery history. I think it's like a 98% on-time service history. And I had to say no for right now. I'm hoping that it's still there when after next week after, something like that. And I may be stepping back into that because that run right there is amazing. It's like 1,000-mile run, and it's like 24 hours. Well, it's actually just under 24 hours you have to run that thing. And look, this is one of those runs where I will drive 70 miles an hour for the entire run. We have just enough time to stop, do our shift changes, our brakes, and our fueling on our shift changes, and get there by the skin of our teeth doing 70 miles an hour. But it makes sense because I still average over 10 miles per gallon doing that run. Already done it. It's going to suck with winter coming in snow. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play into it. But that expedited stuff is no joke, and they pay for it. They're not going to pay me any extra, but it's going to fill in a whole lot of slow gaps in the other parts of the market that are out there. I typically don't run over I-40, but guess what?
So now we see Charley running Canada.
Exactly. I'll be up there at I-70. Like, oh my God, I don't know how to act. I'm gonna have to develop an accent up there.
Don't you know?
Don't you know? Oh, we're broken. What do you want from me? All right. So if you guys have any more tax questions, by all means, please throw them up. If we've missed them, do me a favor and retype it if you could real quick, or call in 813-548-3722, and we can take your call if you'd like to. Otherwise, we may be wrapping this up fairly soon. Definitely check out Trucker CFO, truckercfo.com. You can get info.truckercfo.com, or excuse me, info@truckercfo.com, and or check out contractorscorner.cc, and you can find links to all the people that we talk to or talk about on a regular basis right there on our friendly, I don't know what to call it. It's a page that we have all the people that we like doing business with on, and you can get to there and do that stuff. And Colton, I'm working on, it's in my head. I'm going to build you a commercial.
Do it.
Like the ones I ran at the beginning. I don't know if you saw them or not, but I'm going to build you one, damn it. Well, I didn't build the ESN one. They did that. And I'm like, yes, I like that. I didn't have to do that.
What's that guy's name?
Greg, man.
Greg.
Good God.
The Hobbit.
Sweet Lord, this guy. Anyhow, Colton, you know Greg. You know who we're talking about.
I know Greg, yes.
Yeah. Jeff, you know what? I think I'm just done with him for the day. We're just not even going to talk to him anymore. But yeah, if you guys have any more tax questions, bookkeeping, things like that, now is the time, guys. We don't get Colton on all the time. We will get him. We're going to try and get him a little more frequently. I guess I should throw him back up. I apologize, Jeff. And what? There you go. Can you claim depreciation every year?
You can claim depreciation every year that you're eligible.
Ooh.
So it's going to depend on your assets. Assets have a depreciation life. For trucks, it's a 3-year asset, depreciated over 4 years. We got into this a little bit earlier in the show. and I never came back to the calculation on it. So you take the value of the asset, you divide it by 3, and then from there, your first year and your fourth year are going to depend on when you bought that asset. So you might end up with a mid-quarter or a mid-year depreciation value in the first year, and then you'll get the remainder of that amount in the fourth year. It's very confusing, but it's pretty straightforward once you understand the way it works. So as long as you've got an asset that still has available depreciation, yes, you can take depreciation, but you're only allowed to take depreciation up to the amount of the value of that asset. So let's say you buy a $100,000 truck. Once you've depreciated your $100,000, you don't get to take any more
And
on that
so
asset.
one of the things that's, I think, confusing to a lot of lease guys, you don't get depreciation on the lease. IEL is taking that because they bought the truck. You don't own it yet. However, for instance, when I paid off my truck in, what was it, 21, Charlie? 22? I can't remember. It's been a while.
Something like that.
Once I stroked a check for that $65,000, that started my depreciation on that truck. And so I depreciated that $65,000 over the next, I think it ended up being 3.5 years.
I believe Tim is calling in. I told him to call in because it'd be easier to actually have his specific situation, because I know he owns it. He's not on a lease, if I remember right. I don't know if he's paid it off, if he's cash out, what, you know what I mean? I thought that might be easier.
Buttons.
I'm gonna bring him in. I think it's Tim. We'll have to see. Oh, it is. Okay. Hey, Tim, you're there, aren't you?
Yeah, you asked me to call in.
All right, man. Thank you, buddy.
Interesting.
It's funny because it's a Google answering service that answers it and does the screening for us, and it's really funny because it says the truckers say burn trucker CFO stuff. That's what it told me who was calling, and that's fun and amazing. It just brings me joy when Google translates that. It's baffling. Anyhow, so I want to get into your specific situation because I believe you actually finished your lease or got out of your lease early. I don't know if you paid your truck off. Tell us your situation specifically, if you could.
Well, I paid the balloon off in July with funds that I got from a COVID EID loan back last year. And so, yeah. So I'm like, okay, so, don't, all those payments, up through this year, but then, next year I'll be no more truck payments to write off.
So the depreciation doesn't have anything to do with your truck payments. Again, if you own it, if it's a lease, then yes, you're deducting the truck payment. But on the depreciation, it doesn't matter whether you got an idle loan or you got an SBA loan or you went to the bank and got a loan. Your truck payments on the loan are not what determines your tax deductibility. What determines the taxable deduction is the value of the asset. So what was the purchase price or the buyout price of the truck when you got out of that lease?
Well, the balloon payment I made was about $58,000, but I think the overall sale price was about, I don't know right off the bat, but something close to 100, let's just say 125,000.
125,000.
The 125 was with the lease, right?
Yeah, the overall sale price on my bill of sale.
Okay.
So if the bill of sale showed 125,000, I was going to say one thing that we'd have to understand by looking at the documents is how the balloon payment is treated. And it might be that the balloon payment is treated as a lease payment. It might be that it's considered part of the purchase. So if we just assume that it's part of the purchase and the asset value is 125,000, then what we do is we take that 125,000 and we divide by 3. That's $41,666.67. If we assume you bought that middle of the year, well, when did you buy it?
I paid it off in July.
So you bought it out in July. Okay, so middle of the year. So what's going to happen is that first year, you're going to get half of that 41,000. Okay, so your first year of depreciation, and was that for 2023? Is that when you did all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the payoff. Yeah.
Yep. So for 2023, outside of any accelerated depreciation, which we can get into, you're going to get a $20,833 depreciation deduction for 2023. For 24 and 25, you're going to get a $41,666.66 deduction. So call it 41,667. That'll be your deduction for 24 and 25, and then in 26 you're going to get the other half of that first year for 20,000. That means that over the course of 4 years you're going to get the full $125,000.
Okay, now I took possession of the truck July of 2019, and so obviously all those lease payments each time were tax deductible. What should I, is it okay to have claimed depreciation during?
You would not have taken depreciation during those early years. They would have been a lease payment. Did we lose all of them?
Charlie, you died. You've got to be on the screen for the phone to work, Charlie.
Sorry.
You have to be on the screen for the phone to work.
I apologize. Go back.
Is our caller still there?
Tim, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, your lease payments in 2019 and 2020 through 2022, in fact, all the way up through when you bought out the truck in 2023, those are tax deductible lease payments. But then when you buy the truck in 23, you have depreciation. So in 2023, you're going to have a bit of a different situation. You're going to have lease payment deductions and depreciation. Whereas in the years prior, you will have only had lease payments as a deduction. And in the following years, you're only going to have depreciation deduction.
Okay, because I guess common sense was kind of telling me I'd have the lease payments as a tax deduction as well as the payoff amount as a tax deduction.
The payoff, are you talking about what did you say, the balloon payment, the 50-something thousand on the balloon payment?
Yes.
Okay. The balloon payment, possibly. We'd need to look at the documentation. It might be that balloon payment is actually a lease expense. But it also might be that it's considered part of your purchase price. And so we have to look at the details on that to know which way it has to go. And then you also have the option in 2023, because it's the year you purchased it, to take accelerated depreciation if you want or need it, which basically means that 125,000 you can write off up to the entire amount of the 125,000 to help on your taxes. What that means, though, is that in future years, you're not going to have the depreciation or the full amount of depreciation.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just remember the key is you only are allowed to take an amount up to the 125,000, assuming the full 125,000 is considered part of the asset. So it's split between accelerated depreciation and regular depreciation. And then we recalculate it if you take accelerated depreciation and put it onto the tax return in that amount.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool deal. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks for calling in, Tim. Sorry about that, guys. I had a grandchild issue. It was great. Whatever.
Technology.
It's okay, man. God, thanks for all you do, and God bless you.
Hey, back at you, brother. Thanks so
man.
much. We'll see you in yeah, we'll see you.
All right.
Oh, Lord, buttons, technology. They're not my friend right now. I don't even know what to do. The youngest grandson just walked in here. He started going. I'm like, oh, where did you come from? It was like magic. He just appeared. Freaked me out.
They do that.
He got through 2 doors. I'm just saying. My gatekeepers were not at the gate. That's something I had to go to have a discussion about. I apologize. So yeah, it was fun. If any of you guys got any more, we're gonna take the last minute questions. I didn't want to rush Colton, but we are well over our 2-hour mark. So if you guys have any questions, definitely get them in. Colton, how about a quick recap on what I know it's asking a lot, but a quick recap on how you feel what's happened, what's happening, what will happen. Quick Reader's Digest version for anyone who maybe came in late.
What's happened real quick? COVID created a bubble in the transportation industry, caused rates to skyrocket, caused a whole bunch of capacity, truck capacity to come into the market. The COVID volumes have gone back to normal. And as a result, we have a surplus of capacity for the volume that is out there. That has caused rates to nosedive. And so before rates come back, we need additional capacity to come out of the market, or we need volumes to increase. I believe the more likely scenario is for capacity to come out of the market. Most of that capacity will come out of the market through bankruptcies and through people leaving the industry. Not a fun scenario, but that's just what's going to have to happen. As far as timing, hard to say. Somewhere between 6 and 18 months. I tend to lean more towards the 18 months. What you guys need to do, find lanes that are profitable. Stay in areas of the country that you're able to get good average rates. Don't take a really high paying load to then end up having to take a really poor paying load, or perhaps deadhead because you can't get anything out of there. So find lanes that pay well and stay in those lanes. If you're in a situation where you can choose perhaps the types of freight you want to haul, look at expedite, look at refrigerated right now. It's pretty decent.
Right.
Something along the lines or related to rail or ancillary to rail might be good. And then do everything you can to put money away. So you got to live within your means. You've got to do what you can to not be overpaying for assets, overpaying for all the things in your life. That goes for both personal and business spending. So anyway, was that short?
That was beautiful,
That was
man.
perfect.
That was amazing. Like that's
We're
a
gonna
video
we're
all by
gonna
itself,
we're gonna make that into a short, Colton.
right?
Okay.
You wrap that one up perfect. And so, it just goes along with a lot of what Jeff and I and a lot of other people are saying all the time. Look, minimize your costs. Start shopping for fuel. If you're not, we had this weird revelation that people are just now getting into the discount fuel market. Whatever. Crazy people. Why aren't you doing it? Why didn't you do it last year? Why didn't Jeff and I do it 15 years ago? Why? Because we were dumb.
Yeah.
Like for real, we were just dumb. But you know what? We sought out knowledge. We had knowledge thrown at us, and we took that. We sat there. We ran the numbers. We really did our crunching. We are dumb for not doing that sooner. So
Did we tell you, Colton, that we would have? ES hasn't been around for 15 years, but if we the fuel card has
not the fuel card.
Yeah.
So ES Advantage and the fuel card has not been around that long. But if we had done anything to save money on fuel, Charley and I literally could have paid cash for 2 brand new trucks by now with that fuel savings.
Yeah.
Right.
Over 15,
no
over
joke.
17 years.
For sure.
That's and we're really open about that mistake and what it has cost us over 17 years. And now we're those guys. We're like, why aren't you doing this?
Right.
Are you dumb?
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago we were those guys, but now we know.
And Tim said never knew about discount fuel programs until joining with us. So thank you for the insight, and you're welcome.
Many of them out there don't realize there's another option for accounting and taxes than what is being told to y'all. So
freaking 800-pound gorilla out of Colorado. I'll say it out loud. I don't even care. I don't even care anymore. Jeff's gonna get mad at me, but you know what? I like the 300-pound dude right there. I'm just saying. I just look.
So Colton, I'm learning a lot of this stuff about marketing. So I'm on Charley's case about not doing negative marketing.
I apologize. I can't help it. I have feelings. Exactly. Whatever. Practice what you preach. I'm trying. I am absolutely trying. There are some things that I'm trying to do better in my own world that we're constantly talking to you guys about, and I need to get better at some of the things that I've been slacking on and falling off of. There's lots of things we can all improve on.
Yeah, well, give us a shot, right? Try us out. We're going to do a much better job than what you've been getting. I promise you that. You're going to hear all kinds of stuff out there. Don't listen to it. Listen to Charley and Jeff. Come try us out. We're going to do a lot of stuff to help you save money. There's going to be an ROI on the service.
And I'll put out there too, Colton, that so what I'm paying you versus what I paid the other guys is less for an escort. I think you're right at the same for the sole prop.
Mm-hmm.
But for an S corp, you're about $8 a week less for better service.
Yeah.
And you
That's
offer
it, Jeff. I'm raising my prices.
No, you're not. Not for me, you're not.
You got to double it on him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I know where your office is.
He has
Also,
guns.
that service that Sean is on is something that other accountants don't even offer from
Right.
my experience. You know, it does cost
Yeah.
more, guys, but if you're making a certain amount of money, I think, Colton, it was if you're grossing over $250 a year,
Yeah.
you're actually required to account in a different way. And it's a
Than
service
what most
that,
truckers do. Yes.
right. And it's not something that's ever been discussed by anybody else that I know of, Colton. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like Charlie's really close to that. If he was not being lazy over at Target, he would be needing that service.
Yeah.
And we've actually talked about that.
It requires a balance sheet and balance sheet and income statement. Without getting too far in the weeds, it requires what's called double entry accounting. And and the best way to do that is for a small business is through QuickBooks. I don't care how big the 800-pound gorilla is. They don't have the resources that Intuit has. Intuit has done a really good product with QuickBooks. Say what you want about it. Some people get frustrated with it. That's why you use somebody like us. Again, use professionals. So for folks that are in that situation, we're going to handle your books. And it's key to understand this. If you take your settlement to some, Joe Blow accountants on Main Street, USA, they're not going to know the first thing about your settlement. They're not going to know what to do with it. And so we take your settlements, and there's very specific things we do with it to account for. Because what happens when you use QuickBooks is it integrates with your bank statement. Okay, so what QuickBooks sees as your revenue is your deposit from, in your guys' case, Swift.
Right.
Well, that is not your revenue. They don't realize that there is actually a whole nother layer of revenue above that and expenses that are being deducted out. And so most of your accountants, if they don't know trucking, they don't understand that. And so we are using a very specific way of handling things to make sure that all of that information is getting cleared out and the proper expenses are being booked, that we see screwed up by other accountants that don't understand trucking every single day.
Yep.
And that really is what puts Trucker CFO head and shoulders above the 800-pound
Yeah,
gorilla.
I'll say this one because it's famous. Don't go to H&R Block, guys.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I've seen horrible
one of
things
the better pieces of advice I got, Colton, was years ago from Kevin Rutherford. And he said, when you're shopping for an accountant, ask them, what's the per diem rate this year? And if they can't answer that question, walk away. Because they know nothing about your business.
Right.
And
so with that,
if they do tell you what the per diem rate is, ask them what the current allowance on the per diem rate is.
right.
When I was doing my own taxes, Colton, which only lasted the first year, trying to figure out per diem drove me nuts. I was actually talking to the IRS guy because they have the 800 number to help you with. I think I was on hold for at least an hour and a half. But anyway, finally got a guy. And I'm like, so it's 80% of, I think, $55 at the time. Why don't you just say it's this? Why does it have to be a freaking formula?
Yeah. The per diem language is like one, maybe two paragraphs inside of the IRS code. And the IRS code is volume upon volume upon volume of stuff. And so you're expecting somebody to know it, and there's just no way they're going to know that specific paragraph. And it's a huge deduction. So you miss out on a lot if you don't get it.
And the biggest change that I had to make to what I was doing, Colton, is something that you taught me. And I bring it up every chance I can get. If you are an S Corp, you must run your per diem through payroll, regardless of what other firms have told you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, consulting other places is BS. Sorry, I can't let go.
So that was something that kind of alarmed me because I was told to do it a certain way, and that was wrong.
So, funny question about that. So, those folks who were told to run it a completely different way, Colton, should an audit come up?
Their per diem is going to be disallowed.
Sons of.
And for me, in most years, that's about 15 grand. By the way.
And in terms of tax, you're talking $3,000 to $4,000.
Good God, man, that's just a bummer, man. I don't know. I could say that.
You always talk to me, Colton, about guys that brag about not paying taxes, and I have the same opinion as you, because if you're not paying taxes 9 times out of 10, that means you're not making money.
Mm-hmm.
But for most of my career, I dodged taxes because I had 6 kids at home and per diem. Mm-hmm. So by the time all those deductions came out, but 6 kids is not cheap, guys. So don't go have a bunch of kids just to dodge taxes. You don't come on top.
Nobody in Utah pays taxes.
Right.
And
so everywhere.
Real quick,
I love you,
Tim, because you had mentioned that you weren't happy with the offerings at ES healthplans.com for whatever reason. So we just talked to you about your tax situation. Colton, what's the chances that the federal government is going to think he's poor this year?
Oh, good God.
I mean, I always tell people, go look at the exchange first, because for me, in my situation, I fall below the poverty line on my taxes, even though that's not really true. Obviously, you know how I live. But because of that, I qualify for some pretty decent health care through the exchange that costs me less than I could get it from anywhere else.
So just fair warning on the exchange. A lot of people get caught thinking or providing information to the insurance person that they're working with, or the employee at healthcare.gov, just providing their W-2 and thinking that's my income. It's not. It's your W-2 plus your business income. It's the tax return income. And so we have a lot of people who get caught, and I end up, or my employees end up being the bearer of bad news, saying, hey, that huge credit you got off of your health insurance premiums, guess what? Now you get to pay it all back.
Yeah.
And
so right. That is a thing. And I'll tell you what, Colton, every year when we have to reapply, those people hate us because we send them our tax return, all of it, all 78 pages last year. And the lady last year was like, why is your tax return 78 pages? And my wife was just like, well, welcome to being self-employed.
Right.
It's what it is.
One last thing, because we're coming up on the end of the year, and I hear this every year, and I would like your thoughts on this, Colton. Then we're going to wrap this thing and let you go, because good God knows it's time to go. We get this every year. Hey, I'm going to go out and buy this whatever, and it's $10,000 so I can reduce my tax liability because I don't really need it, but if I buy it, it's going to reduce the amount of taxes I owe.
If you don't really need it, why are you buying it?
Thank you.
It doesn't matter. Would you rather take $10,000 out of your account and now you're $10,000 poorer, or pay an extra $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 in tax? Would you rather be $2,000 poorer or $10,000 poorer?
Yep.
So only buy it if you need it, and if it's something you're going to need maybe in January or February, and you're looking for an additional write-off for this year because maybe you didn't pay enough in estimated taxes or whatever the case may be, then buy it now. Or if you've paid your estimated taxes, or if you've had enough write-offs and you're sitting on something that you need now, but you can hold off another month or so, push it to next year. You use the timing of it to yourself. But if you don't need it, don't buy it.
Thank you, sir. You just don't even understand how
from a professional,
right? That every year we go through this, right? It starts about now, and it'll go through, the end of the year. I'm gonna buy this whatchamacallit for 10 grand.
And if you're buying a full set of tires, by the way, guys, on December 25th, well, that's Christmas, but if you're buying it close to the end of the year, don't bank on Swift processing that RO this year.
Right.
I had that happen a couple years ago where I bought a full set of tires in December and they didn't bill out until January, and I was like, ah. By the way, Charlie, real quick.
Yes, sir.
I got rid of those tires.
He did. Oh, and you know what?
$4,040 for a full set of Energy Ds. I did not go with the D pluses, and we will talk about that next week.
Quick hint, they're $185 more per tire. I actually talked to somebody about this today. $185 more per tire for the D pluses, and the math may not make sense. We're going to dip into that.
Yep.
So Colton, thank you so much for all your time, man. Like seriously, this was an important show to us, and we've been like chomping at the bit for the last month because we knew we had you scheduled, and we were like, yes, we can't wait because we need to talk geek numbers and stuff like that, and I love it. But like I said, you didn't make it just like the geek numbers. We broke it down. I think we broke it down well enough for everybody to understand. And if you guys have any questions afterwards, after we wrap this thing, definitely put them down in the comments. We will forward the ones that we can't even begin to answer straight over to that dude right there. I never know which way to point. I always do the wrong way. We will forward them to him and get an answer from him one way or another. Or guess what? You could get his services and be able to get access to him and his people on your own. Just saying. So, get that service. Go to truckercfo.com for information. Go to info@truckercfo.com. I almost said trucker services. Info@truckercfo.com. 800-533-4230. Thank you so much, Colton. Jeff, any last words, sir?
Nope. I'm going back to bed. I'm still sick.
That was
Thanks
awesome.
for having me. It was awesome.
Thanks, brother. Hey, do me a favor, Colton. Don't hang up till your little record button says it's done uploading. If you don't mind, it should only need a minute. Anyhow, you guys, thank you so much. We will see you next week, Tuesday. I'm coming out of surgery, high out of my mind yet again,
and talking numbers.
This will be fun. What could go wrong there? Thank you so much. 6 p.m. every Tuesday Eastern time. We'll see you then. Oh my gosh, I got to push.